Good evening. I'll call to order this Fairfield Plan and Zoning Commission meeting for May 27th, 2025. Start with our meeting minutes from May 13th, May 20th, and May 22nd. Motion on the item, please.
Mr. Chair, you need somebody to sit for Attorney Ford?
We have Commissioners Braun and Harrison are. Is there any other, is it just Commissioner Seibert right now, or is there any other alternate?
Commissioner Delgado is also remote.
Voice quality detected. Alexis, can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you.
We can hear you, but we can't hear you.
Commissioner Seibert is in on this. Okay, Commissioner Seibert, are you up to speed on those meetings?
Yes.
Okay. Can I have a motion on the item, please? Commissioner Corsillo,
Move to approve.
is there a second? Commissioner Levy, seconds. Commissioner Corsillo,
Nothing else.
any comments or questions from the commission?
No.
We'll put this to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hands.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Next item is 161 Hillside Avenue, request of the Nest Greenfield Hill LLC for 50% release of a bond. $121,987.50 of the total $243,975 as recommended by Town Engineering Department. Ms. Harrigan?
Anthony Santiago from the Engineering Department reviewed the request and found that the release of 50% of the bond was acceptable.
Thank you. May I have a motion? Commissioner Randolph? Move to approve.
Move to approve, yes.
Is there a second? Commissioner Corsillo seconds. Commissioner Randolph?
Since our engineering department has approved this, I recommend the release.
Commissioner Corsillo?
Agreed, nothing further.
Other comments, questions from the commission? Put this to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye. Aye.
Passes unanimously. Next item is a closed executive session, discussion of pending litigation, 15 Umpqua Road with the town attorney. To the public, we'll make a motion to go into closed executive session and go to another room to talk with our attorney on this item. Can I have a motion to go into closed executive? Commissioner Porcello,
So moved.
I'll second.
this to a vote. All those in
Aye.
favor, say aye. or raise your hand.
Aye.
Thank you. Passes unanimously. You will be back. Sorry, but hang tight. We have litigation to discuss. So you're back recording?
Yes.
All right. We're back on the record. Closed executive session is over. No decisions were made. No votes were taken. Go to our next two items, applications to recommend to public hearing. 65 Station Street, zone change application of SF Station Street LLC to rezone portion of parcel from residential A to neighborhood design business district, or no, is it just neighborhood design? Neighborhood design district, right? Business district. It is, okay, neighborhood design business district and 65 Station Street, special permit application of SF Station LLC pertaining to a new 6,842 square foot office building with associated parking and landscape improvements in the neighborhood design business district. Sarah, got anything to add?
Nothing to add. Thank you.
Hearings are required for both.
Correct.
May I have a motion on the item, please? Commissioner Corsillo,
Move to recommend to public hearing.
thank you. Second, Commissioner Levy. I'm sorry, we have Commissioners Harrison and Braun are back.
Yes.
Yes, I'm back.
I'm here.
Thank you. On these two items, any questions or comments? Hearing is
Done.
required.
Thank you.
Put this to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Pass unanimously. Old business, 430 and 452 Stilson Road. Zone change application of Shapiro Commons LLC to establish a design residence district on land presently zoned Residence A. All, because we'll have comments on both. The next one, 430 and 452 Stilson Road. Special permit application of Shapiro Commons LLC pertaining to the construction of a 19-unit residential development in a DRD zone.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Emmeline Harrigan, Planning Director for the record. This development proposal has several components that require their own deliberation and vote. There is the designed residence district zone change request and the special permit application that demonstrates compliance with the DRD standards to consider. While they are intertwined and dependent on each other, these are separate votes and considerations for each of them. For the zone change, the applicant seeks to establish a designed residence district under Section 10 of the Fairfield zoning regulations on two parcels at 430, 452 Stilson Road in the Residence A zone. These lots would be combined to allow for a 19-unit residential development. The proposal retains one of the existing single-family structures and adds 18 units and 3 new buildings with townhouse-style 3-bedroom units with an enclosed 2-car garage as part of the first story. They are pursuing the project per the DRD regulations as most recently revised by the Commission by unanimous vote at their meeting on February 25th, 2025. Although there is an appeal pending for these regulation changes adopted by the Commission, the town attorney has provided guidance that applicants can proceed with applications pursuant to that approval while the appeal is in progress at their own risk. In order to qualify for a DRD overlay, certain minimum site and lot standards apply. For a 1 acre, there's a minimum 1 acre requirement in the residential A zone, and the proposed combined site contains 1.65 acres or 72,087 square feet combined. There's a minimum frontage of 50 feet, and the parcel combined has 180 feet of frontage. Location on a public street classified as a major collector road is required, and Stilson Road, State Route 135 is a collector road. Public sanitary sewer access is required. Currently, this is provided to both subject sites. Public water connection is required, and currently that's also provided to both subject sites. So combined, 430 and 452 Stilson Road meets the DRD criteria for zone change. Standard considerations for a zone change: is the proposal consistent with the plan of conservation and development? Does time, experience, and responsible planning for contemporary or future conditions reasonably indicate the need for the proposed zone change? Have circumstances in the neighborhood changed substantially to warrant the requested zone change? Has it been demonstrated that the proposal is warranted and would serve the general health, welfare, and safety of the town? Does the proposed zone change promote a level of development that would serve to protect property values in the neighborhood and enhance the community and accomplish a transition in character between areas of unlike character? Would the proposed zone change permit a level of development that would increase undue traffic congestion? It should be noted that a valid protest petition with signatures from owners of property that represents a minimum of 20% of the area within the 500-foot radius of proposed properties subject to the zone proposal was successfully submitted. Therefore, a 2/3 vote or 5 affirmative votes are required to approve the requested zone change. This only applies to the zone change and not the special permit. Do you want me to keep going?
Yes.
Wait, okay.
Please.
Okay, for the special permit, subject to a special permit approval, the DRD zone allows for the combined 72,087 square foot subject site in the underlying Residence A zone, and allowed density of 1 unit for the first 9,375 square feet of lot area, and then 1 additional unit for each 3,000 square feet of lot area, which would allow for a total of 20 units at this property. The applicant requests a total of 19 units. The applicant's project site is adjacent to the design business district, whereby they request more than 4 units per building per section 10.9.2. The project is designed with 7 units in building 1, 5 units in building 2, 4 units in building 3, and the single-family residence at 452 Stilson Road to remain. The project provides 2 garage spaces per unit and 10 additional surface parking spaces and meets the requirements of 2.5 spaces per unit or 48 spaces. The proposed buildings meet height, lot coverage, and setback requirements. However, staff requests a condition for a correction on the plans that the attic level shown be revised to be below 7 feet in height in order to meet the 3-story limitation. And this would also limit future use of the attic area for any bedrooms. The applicant's experts have indicated that WPCA approval has been granted for this project to connect into the town sewer system, and public water supply is available at the site. The Inland Wetlands Agency granted approval of the project on August 7th, 2024, which requires a site monitor during the construction phase and the consideration of dark sky compliant lighting design for the project. The landscape plan provides significant screening around the north and south sides of the property with a combination of trees and shrubs. There's also a wetlands creation planting plan, wetland buffer habitat enhancement in the upland review area. 4 street trees are proposed along Stilson Road, which will require Connecticut DOT review and final approval. The photometric study provided by the applicant shows no light trespass at any of the property boundaries. The stormwater system was reviewed as part of the wetlands permit, as the overflow to the system provides a new detention basin that will become a future wetland area. The applicant's traffic consultant's report indicates that trip generation for the proposed 19-unit building can be accommodated by Stilson Road, and driveway sight lines exceed the minimum required for the project. The proposal reduces the existing curb cuts from 3 locations to 2 locations, with the northern driveway a one-way in and the southern driveway with 2-way access. The applicant has also proposed to move the existing curb closer to their property in order to allow for a deeper left turn lane at the intersection of Stilson Road and Black Rock Turnpike, which was a safety measure recommended by the Black Rock Turnpike Safety Study adopted by the town in May 2019, and which has been submitted as part of the record by an adjacent neighbor. Final locations for driveways and the curb realignment will need to be reviewed and approved by the Connecticut DOT, as Stilson Road is a state road. For other projects on state roads, a concrete sidewalk will be required to be installed along the property frontage. The proposed building provides adequate fire department access as indicated by the turning radius submitted and reviewed by fire department staff. Neighbors expressed concerns about the heavy traffic safety, and crashes on Stilson Road, and in particular at the Stilson Road and Black Rock Turnpike intersection. They expressed concern about bike and pedestrian safety in the immediate area. They also expressed concern about the adjacent wetlands and wildlife to the rear of the site and the potential impacts of the project on the expansive wetlands to the rear of Pansy Road, as well as the potential loss of the large pines between the existing single-family properties that would be removed as part of the construction. Other residents expressed concern about the demand to city and school services as a result of the additional proposed units and an overall dislike of the increase in density and overcrowding. Attorney Green, on behalf of his clients, expressed concern about fire department and delivery vehicle access on the site, as well as the proposed garage spaces being unable to accommodate large SUVs. A few community members expressed support for the project. The considerations for the special permit are found in section 25.7.7. Is the development shown on the site in architectural plans of such character as to harmonize with the neighborhood, to accomplish a transition in character between areas of unlike character, to protect property values in the neighborhood, to preserve and enhance the appearance and beauty of the community, and to avoid undue traffic congestion. And that's all I have.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I note, I'm up to speed. I reviewed the, April 29th, video. And, as noted in the packet, I think Commissioner Braun and Commissioner Ford have recused themselves. So Commissioner Seaver, you're still in on this.
Mhm.
May I have a motion?
Delgado.
Is he here?
He is, he's.
Oh, I
remote.
thought he wasn't here. I'm sorry, Commissioner Delgado, I apologize. I thought we only had 6.
Yeah, I'm here and I'm up to speed.
Okay, thank you. So you're sitting in as well. May I have a motion, Commissioner Randolph?
I move to support the zone change.
All right, yes, I'm sorry. Let's start with the zone change. That's needed first. So the motion is to approve the zone change.
With the condition.
Condition being,
Deed restriction to prohibiting overnight parking in driveways.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. To what?
on the
Would that be better in the special permit or the zone change?
special permit.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm sorry,
All right, so why don't we, what's the motion is what?
to approve the zone change.
Thank you. Is there a second? Commissioner Cortsil, sorry. Commissioner Randolph, go ahead.
I support the proposed zone change and special permit for 430 and 452 Stilson Road. This application aligns with Fairfield's updated zoning policies, advances the goal of both the 2016 and 2024 draft POCD, reflects responsible planning and a corridor undergoing transition. Most importantly, it helps address Fairfield's pressing need for housing while preserving neighborhood character through appropriate scale, form, and buffering. To address concerns I'll get to the condition in the subsequent one. Our approvals will be based on our zoning ordinances, and this project meets the 6 specified conditions for approval. Number 1, consistency with recently revised DRD regulations. The proposal fully complies with the DRD regulations unanimously adopted by the commission.
It was not unanimous. I voted against it, Mr. Randolph.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification. These regulations promote infill development, near services and infrastructure, exactly the type of projects proposed. The plan advances the intent of those revisions by offering moderate density townhomes rather than large apartment buildings on a site well suited for this use. Number 2, consistency with the POCD. The project aligns with both the 2016 POCD and the August 2024 draft POCD, the last draft now 9 months in public review. The 2016 POCD encourages infill housing near transit and infrastructure. The 2024 draft builds on this by calling for zoning flexibility, missing middle housing, and gentle density in appropriate areas. Strategies A6, D2 of the POCD explicitly supports this type of project located near services, transit, and public utilities. This proposal reflects those goals, helps meet Fairfield's long-term housing needs. Number 3, change conditions warranting the zone change. Conditions in this corridor have changed. Projects at 100 Katona Drive and 222 Stilson have established a precedent for moderate density development in this area. These approvals reflect the corridor's transition from retail and office uses towards a mix of residential buildings. The subject site lies between commercial development on Black Rock and lower density homes on Stilson Road. It is appropriate for the zone to evolve accordingly. Number 4, advancement of public health and safety. Proposal supports the public welfare by providing new housing and a walkable location served by public water, sewer, and an arterial road. It's lower density than recently approved multifamily projects, is comparable in scale and height to surrounding homes. The plan includes appropriate landscaping, setbacks, and circulation. It will offer housing for young professionals, families, and older adults, all within a framework that respects community character and infrastructure constraints. Number 5, appropriateness of scale and transitional character. Townhouse development provides a logical transition and scale between large commercial buildings on Black Rock and the single-family homes on Stilson. This type of housing helps soften the shift in land use while maintaining a residential appearance. Through setback screening and architectural design, the proposal blends with its surrounding and adds housing diversity. 6, traffic impact. The applicant's traffic study conducted in accordance with ITE and CT dot standards estimates 10 additional trips during the AM peak and 11 in the PM peak This is a negligible increase for Stilson Road. Sightlines at the driveway meter exceed CT Highway Design Manual requirements. The town engineers raised no safety concerns. This proposal reflects responsible forward-looking planning. It meets the town's updated zoning and POCD goals and adds much-needed housing in an appropriate location. I encourage the applicant to work with neighbors to ensure sufficient landscape buffering and to possibly donate trees to the town in kind to offset any evergreen removal. I respectfully urge the commission to approve the application. I'm sorry, the zoning change.
Thank you. Commissioner Corsillo?
Thank you. The application, as Commissioner Randolph noted, meets the standard considerations for a zoning change. And it's in addition to the pieces of the 2016 POCD that Commissioner Randolph referenced. You know, the POCD specifically calls in section 3.3.7 for the utilization of the design residence district as a transition from commercial use to single family residential use, in addition to repeatedly emphasizing the need to add more housing without building high-rise apartments. And this achieves that goal. Responsible planning certainly points to the need for the proposed change. Again, the need for housing is well documented, as is the preference to do so without resorting to large apartment buildings. And the way to achieve that is through middle housing. There are different ways to plan responsibly for added middle housing capacity. I would argue the most conservative of those is to add it in transitional areas between commercial zones and single family homes, as this project does. Circumstances have changed. Demand has continued to go up, and the several houses on Stilson in the immediate vicinity of the site that have been sold, torn down, and replaced with much larger, much more expensive homes are evidence of that. The proposed change promotes a level of development that would protect property values in the neighborhood. Again, I understand there are neighbors who oppose this change and recognize that it may negatively impact their perceived value of their own properties, but the evidence does not support that developments like this negatively impact the market value of surrounding properties. And finally, to the extent traffic conditions exist, and I drive past this site frequently, typically during peak hours, and understand that traffic conditions do presently exist, there's no evidence to support the suggestion that the addition of 18 homes will increase undue traffic congestion. In fact, the extension of the left turn lane that this development could facilitate would be a significant improvement to existing conditions. Beyond the standard considerations for regulation changes, there was a lot of discussion of middle housing as part of these public hearings. And, you know, is this middle housing? If so, why is it not more affordable? And middle housing is middle density housing. It's housing that is more than a single family home, but less than mid-rise and high-rise apartments, duplexes, triplexes, townhomes, garden apartments. And affordability has nothing to do with whether or not something is middle housing. So why should we allow more housing of this type if it's not more affordable? And to me, the answer is we need diverse housing options, diverse typologies, and diverse price points. Not everyone wants to live in a single family home on a large lot. And we don't currently give people much choice if they want to live in Fairfield. There are seniors who have lived in Fairfield for decades and don't want to take care of a large property. And whether they need income restricted housing or not, they deserve options that allow them to stay here. And I mentioned seniors because I think most people agree that folks who have lived here for decades deserve to be able to stay. But I think that also applies to people of all ages, and whether or not a particular home is a missing housing development in a particular missing housing development is income restricted. These homes do cost less than a single family home of the same size and quality because land costs money, and middle housing reduces that land cost relative to home price. This is about allowing for a diversity of opportunities. And lastly, I also want to address a comment that was made at the May 6th hearing. When a member of the public said that if we approve this development, we are building future ghettos, a comment that I found so offensive. It has continued to bother me since that meeting. I respect the passion that members of the public bring to these hearings. And while we don't always agree, I know that much of the opposition to projects like this are rooted in sincere concerns about the potential impacts that developments may have on your neighborhoods. But future ghettos, I mean, if this project is approved, the people who live in these homes will be our neighbors, and I think they deserve better than that. So I'll just end with that and I will be voting to approve this project.
Thank you. Other comments from the commission?
I'm happy to go
Go ahead, Commissioner Harrison.
on the zoning change. Yeah,
so-
I do want to start off by stating that I really appreciate the vision of the applicant to create a diversity of housing in Fairfield. I know he has spent resources on hiring lobbyists to really help him see this vision come true, and I like his vision in many ways. Creating housing is absolutely noble, but this is the wrong place for a development, I believe, of this size. Creating housing should never supersede safety. This development is adjacent to or close by to an elementary school, a dialysis center within a medical center. I just think it's just too much for this area. I have driven this area now for the past few months in the morning, in the afternoon, on the weekends, and it is always congested. There never seems to be a break in the traffic area, this traffic area. So it's just concerning that why would we just add more to this already highly congested area? There was an application that we talked about during the public hearing, I believe in 2017, that did not see itself through a memory care area because of the traffic concerns that were made noted by the neighbors. This would just forever change the character of this neighborhood. We talk about missing middle. We want missing middle. But in my definition, I've looked up the definition in many different places. And missing middle often refers to housing that is on the spectrum of affordability. It includes duplexes, triplexes. But these are expensive townhomes with stairs. I have 2 senior citizen parents who live in Fairfield. They wouldn't live here. There are stairs. This is just, it's not even attainable for people on Social Security. We never got a price point from the applicant on what this would cost. I don't think it is really attainable housing. It's great middle housing for people with high incomes, but it's really not attainable middle housing, which is what we want. Missing middle housing is usually affordable by design. This is just not affordable. I would say, someone had said, I think earlier in the comments that, we need to create housing in Fairfield. We absolutely do, and we have been. Our commission has already approved 1,500 units that have not even been built. So I would say that we are doing a great job of creating housing, and our population has not even gone up in scale. I do want to also say, I don't like that comment, as Commissioner Corsillo said, about the ghetto, but I don't think we should hinge our decision by one comment by one neighbor. This will entirely devastate a neighborhood which is already severely impacted by traffic congestion, which has been the main theme of the neighbors. I do want to point out the traffic report. 69 crashes were reported in the area between July 2018 and July 2023, averaging about 14 crashes a year. Personally, I hope we're aiming for a lot less crashes. I actually found it unclear why the traffic report uses ITE's land use code 215 to assume that only 10 vehicles will be added during peak hours from the development of 19 units, which currently propose to have 4 parking spaces per unit and 12 outdoor parking spaces. I just don't see this feasible. Level of service. Right now, I think it's rating an F. Do we want to go below that? I don't think so. So public safety is a big concern for me. I think it should be for all of us on this commission. So I will be denying this application. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Levy?
Yes. I share in the comments of my fellow commissioners, Carcillo and Randolph. I think this is the appropriate development for this area. It's a transition between the residential and the design business that abuts it. While it's not currently the most walkable neighborhoods, it is a step in the right direction towards walkability. Residents here will be able to walk to Trader Joe's, to Poster Hardware, to the Black Rock Turnpike stores, which hopefully, if the state ever gets around to it, Black Rock Turnpike too will be far more walkable. In terms of the traffic, I mean, I rode my bike through here yesterday and, granted it was a holiday, but it's not always backed up. There was no traffic and I stopped at Pansy Road and then proceeded on. I also am very familiar with it since I used to live in the neighborhood. And yes, at prime times, there is, a backup on Stilson Road. I assume most of the accidents are, fender bender rear enders there, where people just aren't paying attention, but that's not going to be significantly impacted by the small number of additional trips that this project will generate. So based upon that, I see it as an appropriate development and as a transition between the two neighborhoods and support the zone change.
Thank you. Anything else, or can I jump in? I'll be supporting the zone change as well. I echo Commissioner Randolph and Corsillo's comments about how it meets the criteria that we normally use. I agree with Commissioner Harrison that safety is a paramount concern, and everybody does take that seriously, even if we disagree. I've traveled this road frequently. I see the traffic on there. And in reviewing the traffic study and what's expected there, I believe it'll be more of a drop of the bucket than it is will tip a balance over to make this unsafe. So I find that this will be, as far as traffic and pedestrian issues, is safe. And I think it's a needed, this is a needed gentle density, middle housing factor that we need in this town, regardless of the price point at this point. I mean, we've been always asking or trying to get to a gentle density or middle housing. But now to just say, well, now we can't do it because it hits a certain price point or it's too high. That's just not, I think, how we should be operating. It's getting a diversity of stock for the housing needs that we have. And with more, when we hit more of that volume, then maybe we'll see some prices go down, or if it hits a certain area. But I mean, I just don't think we should be changing the goalposts. And again, I don't think this is an unsafe or lead to an unsafe air in the area.
I will just, may I say one more thing? Sorry.
Of course.
I would just reiterate, we all want middle housing. We always talk about, we want fire personnel to live here. We want teachers to be able to live in the town where they teach, but luxury townhouses is not the answer. What would fit in better here, I think, is, and that's up to our discretion, is to have some duplexes that would really truly be a transition between the single family homes and the commercial area. I just don't see this fitting in 19 units in this very congested area. But I will be probably the lone dissenter here. And so sometimes that's how it goes. Thank you.
I mean, but I don't know how duplexes, put 2 or 4 or however many in there, is gonna change the price point. So, we're kind of at the same, I think the same point, but
I mean, unfortunately, there is already kind of, I would say there's more attainable housing in that area, especially where those lots are, and that would kind of destroy the naturally occurring of affordable housing that's already there. So we're kind of not really helping the situation, in my opinion. But we can agree to disagree.
anything further, or can we put this to a vote? Our motion right now is the motion to approve the zone change only. All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. All
Aye.
opposed? Oh, so Commissioner Delgado and the yes, all opposed,
Harrison?
passes 6-1. So next item is the special permit application. The comments already. May I have a motion on that item? Commissioner Randolph.
I propose the special permit with the condition
Move to approve with the conditions of what?
The condition is a deed restriction prohibiting overnight parking in driveways, except for temporary guests, to be enforced by the homeowners association.
All right, well, there's other, Commissioner, I know Ms. Harrigan had staff one for height, right, Ms. Harrigan?
Yes, just for the height of the attic level to be less than 7 feet, please.
Would you add that as a condition of approval?
Yes.
And your first one is a condition of approval or a recommendation?
It's a condition. So
That's okay.
Okay.
I don't think there was anything else, Ms. Harrigan, that with conditions. Is there a second? Is that you?
Yeah.
Commissioner Carcillo seconds. Commissioner Randolph, go ahead.
I'm not gonna repeat the approvals, but I guess for the benefit of, this is a new process for a lot of people here, but our approvals will be based upon our zoning ordinance, and this project meets the 6 specified conditions, which I read before. I am adding this additional condition. It was cited that if the area was fully parked in front of the garages, it potentially would pose a difficult maneuvering situation for emergency vehicles. This was not flagged by the review internally, and it perhaps will be flagged when the building permit comes up. But I think a reasonable objection was raised by the public over the lack of maneuverability. So as a condition of approval, I'm suggesting a deed restriction, and I believe the Oaks appears to have a similar deed restriction, which is the condominium on Stilson as well, prohibiting overnight parking in driveways except for temporary guests. And it should be enforced by the homeowners association.
Okay. Commissioner Carcillo?
I would add, if you're open to including these, there was discussion about the lighting. I believe there was a question of whether the lighting in their lighting plan was full cutoff, dark sky compliant, and I don't know if they ever made that change, but said they would accept it as a condition. So that would be one. And the other was the discussion of potential wildlife in the area. And so I would also suggest adding a requirement that they conduct a wildlife survey and create a mitigation plan for approval by the Conservation Department.
I would accept that. Those additions. Did you,
And I have no other
did
comments.
that? Ms. Harrigan?
Yes.
Okay. All right, you're okay with amending the motion?
Yes.
Such, okay. Any other, Commissioner Levy?
I just have a few questions. I don't recall specifically that there would be a homeowners association here. Do we have any information one way or the other on that?
No,
It
that
might
has
be
not been
individually
expressed
deeded.
to us right now.
So I don't know that we can make it enforceable on a homeowners association. The other thing is, while I share the concern about the, fire access, I think it was basically a single pinch point, which was a concern. So it was those, basically where the two buildings were catty corner to each other. I mean, I like the idea. I actually am one of the few in my neighborhood that uses my garage, but for most people, the garage is storage. So I think if we're addressing that concern about fire access, it should be to limit the deed restriction to the units on those two corners that are juxtaposed. Perhaps Ms. Harrigan would be able to pull it up. We could just identify those units. And I'm not sure how it would be enforceable. I mean, it's certainly, it's not something the Fairfield police are gonna do, so.
I'm open to restricting parking, subject to the advice of fire marshal.
Yeah.
Rather than us designing the plan.
Does the fire marshal enforce parking though? That would be my concern. I don't think they do.
No,
I
I'm
think-
saying deed restriction we get the advice of fire marshal in order to eliminate any potential safety issues.
My concern with that is I'm concerned that that the fire marshal has not really fully analyzed the application to its fullest or the analysis provided by both parties. So I don't think I could support that.
I rely on the expertise of the fire marshal. They're an appointed official in this town, and
I understand that, Jeff, but they may not be reading the application for as we do. That's just reality.
right, we're asking them to do
Well,
that.
I don't, listen, let's not get into what fire marshal did or didn't do. What I know is we referred something to him and he came back with his opinion. So I would really caution everybody to question what some other town official and their expertise has or hasn't done. You're to the condition, I don't know how to draft, I don't know how to say that. Why don't we? Let's move
Make a
on.
recommendation.
Let's see what else, well, let's go keep going. Let me think on that a little, let's think on that a little bit more.
I'm open to making it a recommendation.
That might make it cleaner, but let's see what everybody else says first, about the application at whole. But let's think on that for a second. Comments on the current motion for the special permit? I mean, I believe it meets the special permit, criteria, for a lot of what we've said previously, but, certainly a more dense project than the, surrounding residential, but I do believe it harmonizes with that, notwithstanding the density. It adds the transition from commercial to residential. And I don't believe there's gonna be an undue traffic, effect, as we previously said. And certainly is congested there. I'm very familiar with it. I just don't think that the extra traffic generated by the site is going to tip the scales to make this unsafe as opposed to just being a drop in the well, maybe one or two drop of the buckets. I think the recommendation for the traffic is gonna make, parking is gonna make that cleaner. So I think, I'm not sure how to phrase that as a condition. I agree, it's really just the one area that was identified. Again, we asked the fire marshal to review it. And staff reports that he was sufficient for him. Certainly helping, I think, that certainly would help. You know, I think a recommendation would be cleaner at this point.
I'm okay with the recommendation.
Commissioner Corsillo, are you okay with that amendment?
Good with that.
All right. All right, so the current motion then is motion to approve with the recommendation with respect to parking and the traffic. And then the condition of approval for the height, redoing the survey for the height. Was there another one? Oh, yeah, the
And then the
wildlife and mining, okay. One more.
I mean, how do we know that these recommendations, referrals are actually followed? Like, we never, ever get follow-ups from applicants on this.
Well, recommendations are.
I know they're non-binding.
Yeah, so I mean, and I don't, they're non-binding, so in that respects, they could be completely unfollowed. And I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Recommendations, conditions need to be followed in order for building permits, certificate of occupancy, things like that, so.
Correct.
I mean, I don't think we have, I've never asked staff to follow up on a recommendation. Because we all acknowledge that it's non-binding, so.
Okay.
Conditions, zoning enforcement, if anybody makes a complaint.
Yeah.
I did have something in my previous statement asking the applicant to work with neighbors to ensure sufficient landscaping buffering and ideally donate trees to the town in kind to offset the evergreen recommendation.
I mean, it's your motion. that you would want, Commissioner Corsillo? A second, okay. Commissioner Harrison?
Yeah, comments unrelated to the recommendations being put forth, which I appreciate. I would just restate that this is directly across from a medical building and just yards away from a major congested intersection, which backs up Daling all the way up down to the Osborne Hill Elementary School. The medical building has a dialysis center, which frequently has emergencies. I just believe that this size, and I would like to see development here, but maybe just something smaller. It will just cause more added congestion and impact emergency access. And I think the unique aspects of the site are not covered in the ITE manual, which is comprised of random data from around the country and mostly composed of data that was collected before the pandemic. I also just want to note, and this hasn't been mentioned tonight, but I feel like it's all in our minds because we've all mentioned this in other applications, that I don't think we should be influenced at all, that the fact that there is a backup application for an 830G development. I believe that every application should stand or fall on its own merits. And, again, $1 million townhouses are not good for seniors because they have stairways, and they're just not good for millennials and young people because they can likely not afford them. This really isn't truly middle housing as the proponent, claims it is. And I also want to note that the people who signed the petition should be respected, as they will be the ones that are most impacted. The protest petition, just for reference, has been around for over 60 years, and it really allows the very purpose of allowing people, neighbors, who will be most impacted to have a bit of protection. It's, our commission to provide that protection too. So I think this is just too small of a parcel in an extremely dangerous and congested area to have this size. If we really want middle housing, we should really have middle housing, but this just isn't it. So I will have said my piece. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? Can we put this to a vote, or do we need a quick recitation of the motion? Sarah, you have the motion, right? You're good on your end?
Yes.
Okay. Sounds like everybody's good. All those in favor of the motion, conditions and recommendations as stated, please say aye or raise your hand. See 5, all opposed.
Harrison?
So, yeah, I was gonna say Commissioner Delgado,
Vote to approve.
vote to approve. Okay, thank you. Passes 6-1 then. Thank you for the good discussion. Moving on to our public hearings. For 345 Old Dam Road, special permit and coastal site plan application of K&J Partnership pertaining to a new single-family residence with rooftop deck within 100 feet of a residential coastal resource in the Beach District. Good evening, Senator Russo.
Chair, Commissioners, good to be before you. Chris Russo with Russo and Rizio LLC, offices at 10 Saskill Hill Road in Fairfield, here on behalf of the applicant. Just gonna grab my plans. Okay. So as you might recall from last week, again, this is a single family dwelling. Towards the end of Old Dam Road, this is a property right here. There's one property beyond it that you can see right here that's on what I think is the largest piece of property on Old Dam Road. This is the creek right here, and this is Fairfield Beach Road. We left the hearing open for a couple reasons. One of the first, actually, there was a comment from Commissioner Braun asking about the area on the other side opposite the single family dwelling. And I spoke with Alexandra Mox, who is the coastal expert on this application, and what she had proposed for that area. And she actually advised that this should be mowed regularly. There's a picture I can show you. Phragmites are spreading in that area, and they are encroaching into the onto the property. And so she recommended to prevent that from keep on spreading, that you would actually mow in this area across there, because there's a so over in this area, help prevent the spread of Phragmites. She actually recommended mowing over in this area. You wouldn't go into where the tidal wetland is. But that was her recommendation, to kind of keep those Phragmites, which are invasive, my understanding, at bay. So that was one comment that we'd received. The other, if you remember, was from Deep, and that had focused on the increase in the number of bedrooms on the site. The prior dwelling had 2 bedrooms. This proposed dwelling has 3 bedrooms. And she also pointed to an office area that she felt that could be converted to a bedroom as well. Again, this is a comment, I said this last week, I've never seen this comment for a single family dwelling about the increase in the number of bedrooms. I've seen comments from Deep before when you were increasing the number of lots in a coastal zone and increasing unit density in a coastal zone, but never for the number of bedrooms. I did, and I've printed out just for your, if you wanted to take a look at it, the statute that she references, because it really says nothing of bedrooms. It just simply says regarding policies concerning coastal land and water resources within the coastal boundary. One of them is to manage coastal hazard areas so as to ensure the development proceeds in such a manner that hazards to life and property are minimized, and to promote non-structural solutions to flood and erosion problems. And then it goes on. But this is the first interpretation that I've seen of that statute, say that that goes towards limiting the number of bedrooms. Again, I've never seen a bedroom restriction for a single family house. I mean, outside of, WPCA restrictions on bedrooms. This commission has regulations that govern coverage, floor areas, setbacks, rooftop decks. There's restrictions in the town regards to the certain number of unrelated persons in the dwelling. But I haven't seen anything as restriction on the number of bedrooms in a single family house. It's almost, I don't want to say it severely, but it's almost discriminatory in my opinion, because it's what if you had a large family? I mean, if you're building within your standards and your zoning standards, and there's no restrictions on bedrooms, I don't see anything in the coastal regulations that state that that the number of bedrooms should be restricted to 2, 3, or any number. It's really what is in your statutes with regard to what you can build, what actual structure you can build. But I also did, for the commission's benefit, an analysis of bedroom counts, because as I was sitting there, I didn't have the information at my hand and ready, but I certainly know there's a lot of new houses that have been constructed in the coastal zone, and I felt confident that a lot of those houses increased the number of bedrooms from what was there prior. And I know we talked about that this is a relatively new policy, so from Deep. But so what I did was I looked at some recent builds since 2020 in the coastal zone, just to look at the increase. And it's a rather simple chart, but basically what it shows you is the address, the year the newest house, what's the current house there was built. If there was a previous house that was demoed, when it was demoed, and then what the new bedroom count is and what the old bedroom count is. What I attached to that is supporting documentation. The way I was able to find this is I went to the tax assessor and I pulled the old field cards for the old houses that were there previously. And I attached that just so you would have the information for reference that shows the old bedroom count. And then I also included the current field cards for those existing dwellings. So what you could see is, and actually one of the neighbors spoke at the last meeting, it includes his house. his old bedroom count was 2. It was increased to 4. 464 Pine Creek Ave was actually a vacant property. My understanding was a vacant property. The field card listed as having no bedrooms, and now it has 4. And then the others have increases that I showed here, just have an increase of 1 bedroom. So certainly I think we're in line with those other prior approvals and these other new constructions that have increased the number of bedrooms in a coastal zone. So then moving on to next comment, which was neighbor spoke at 323 Old DM Road regarding the rooftop deck, and there were some questions from the commissioners regarding some of the photos I had supplied of other rooftop decks and other examples of and actually getting the actual measurements of rooftop decks that's claiming they were similar. So this is an overhead aerial again. Here is our property. Our closest neighbor here is at 335 Old DM Road. I'll flip back and forth to these, but what you can see here is where our proposed dwelling is. You can see here is the outline of our next door neighbor. So we're basically in line with the house nearest the facade nearest Old DM Road. And then we're set back slightly from their front, what I call the front, near Pine Creek. So again, if you look at that for reference, you can see where the house is now. The house that was at 345 Old Dam Road. We're in line with there, and then we're short of this frontage here. And what I think when you look at this rooftop deck, which we slightly revised from when you saw last, if you remember, we had a stairwell that was shown, we removed that stairwell. And now what we did was we put a circular staircase up on the front on the Pine Creek side. And I'll show you the elevation so you can see what that looks like. But I think the other thing what you'll notice, and I have some renderings that show this well too, is that not only are we up here where this, with this facade of the next door neighbor, but then we're also indented from the front, the Old DM Road facade as well. And so we've skewed this toward the side, but we also made sure to not go too far so we didn't get too close to where this neighbor as well, because we talked to this neighbor and try and respect this neighbor's privacy. You'll see we also added a solid screen here to help with that as well. But it's really a limited rooftop deck that we've placed in the middle to, again, try to minimize impact to our surrounding neighbors. I mean, none of them have, like a line of sight easement or anything like that, but I think by where we've placed it, we placed it in a location that's least detrimental to everybody. And I think you could see that if you look at the angles, and I'll show you a picture actually from Fairfield Beach Road, where you can see this deck, the angle that they have and the view that they have really looks out towards here rather than in this direction. And also the rooftop deck, frankly, offers more of a view than what would be permitted otherwise. And I'll show you that as well. But here's a rendering. This is a rendering from Old DM Road. You can't see the rooftop deck here. Again, it's on the other side of this portion of the dwelling. But here is from an angle, so you can see that screen that we put to kind of protect our nearest neighbor on that side. But again, you can see there's this gap here where there's no rooftop deck. It's just on this side. And then I think it's probably the best rendering for seeing where it's actually situated. Again, what you can see, this is looking down on top, kind of from the Pine Creek side. We have this roof line, but then we have this portion of the roof where there's no rooftop deck, and then it's really just skewed on this half that we have it. That's it. That's it. Okay. Next. Well, I can show you this. The other thing I did, because Commissioner Randolph asked for some examples for our heights, and if there were real life, examples, if there are other examples of rooftop decks that have been approved. So this is 1008 Fairfield Beach Road. It's a rendering of it. And what you can see is this had a rooftop deck approved on top. I have that approval, a special exception permit back in 2018 that I'll hand out to you. And these are the actual elevations with measurements on them. What you can see here is they actually stopped short of the rooftop deck, but this is at 36 feet to 36.2 feet. And then using a scale, it goes up another 5 feet to get to these columns that you see here, which if you look back at the rendering is where the rooftop deck is here. You can see the columns there. So where we're proposing is the rooftop deck is at 37 feet. And so this is at about 41, 42 feet. They don't have the measurement right to it, but if you scale it, you can see that it's well above ours. The other more recent is 86 French Street. This is a picture I took. And you can see the rooftop deck here on top. This was approved just last year. And I could show you that plan. Submitted the elevation plans as well. That. And so this does have a measurement to the rooftop deck, and that's 37 feet 5 inches. It's 5 inches taller than what we're proposing. Oh, yes, yeah, I can handle it. Thank you. And then the other thing I showed is this was an earlier drawing of a design for this house that didn't have a rooftop deck like we were proposing. And this is something you kind of see with a lot of other houses in the Beach District. If they built a roof, and this is compliant as height, goes to the midpoint of the roof, and this is solid structure, it's in contrast to the rooftop deck. It's 34 feet to the midpoint of the main roof, but then it's another 5 feet 6 inches to the ridge. So 39 feet 6 inches, whereas ours, when you get to 37 feet, it's then open to the rooftop deck that neighbors will be able to see through. So that's an extra, this wouldn't, it would just be solid. And it's again, fully compliant, but it's an extra 2 foot 6 inches of bulk on top of that, which would, much more impact their view than what we're proposing. So I just want to show you that elevation as well. And then some handouts here.
Is that available online, the handouts, for those who are not there in person?
They are.
The approval, yeah, the approval I'm handing out is the 86 French Street special exception approval. That should be online. The next is the 1008 Fairfield Beach Road special exception approval, the recorded approvals. That should be online. The next one, I'm handing out the drone photo, M-Line. Is the drone photo online as well?
No, it has to be submitted.
Okay, this Commissioner Harrison, I'm showing the commission a drone photo that would have to be posted online. That is a drone. We flew a drone near the deck where our neighbor is, 323 Old Dam Road, to show the view. And what you can see in this photo.
Are those accessible to those who are online, to the audience, to me?
I'll make it available to the public here. We'll post it. We'll send you a text now.
Okay,
Um,
thank you.
Is the chart available online?
The chart should be available. The bedroom analysis should be available online. I believe it's available online. Line posted that today. I think so. Yeah. So what you can see in this photo is that if you look down Old Dam Road, which again is that view that I was talking about, you can see out there to the water, and you can see our lot where it's cleared and how that's off to the left. And it's really, we're not blocking this view, which we feel is the main view of that deck. And again, there's no line of sight easement that property has over this property, but just to show this commission,
What was this picture taken from?
so this is it's from a drone you could see the neighbor's deck to the right and looking out towards our property. So if you look down in this portion right here, that's our lot right there. And then you could sort of see Pine Creek right there. There's Fairfield Beach Road and there's the sound beyond
The
it.
one-story building is the lot? To the right of the pole?
He's coming up. I'm gonna get this.
Right here.
Come on up.
This is the lot.
I imagine you
That's
want to see
clear.
this.
Oh, the house is
That
clear.
lot, okay, thanks.
And that's where it's, so that's where the house is being proposed. You
Take
can,
that back, please.
you look through the trees, you could just make out the corner of our neighbor's house. Right to the left, you could see the white that kind of is in between the branches there. So you can use that as a point of reference, because again, we're lined up with the front facade of that house. So again, we don't feel that this rooftop deck is going to be an impediment. Just gonna show you one more picture. And then I'll walk through
Do me a
the,
favor, point to the house where the house is gonna be built.
this is the cleared lot right
Yeah.
here. If you look through the spaces in the trees, you can make out the front facade of our neighbor. And we're in line with their facade.
It's gonna be behind that first tree to the left of
Yeah.
the clearing.
Yeah, right behind that tree.
Do you know the height of the tree?
The height of that tree,
Bigger or smaller than the house?
it looks to be taller
Or than the neighbor's
than
house.
the neighbor's house, and the neighbor's house is a two-story, I believe. I have to check how high is, but it's at least a two-story, could be a 2.5 story. I'm not positive. I'll have to, I can check that.
Go ahead.
No problem. This actually might help too. This is from Fairfield Beach Road, so I'm standing on Fairfield Beach Road. Looking, creek's right here. This is the neighbor with the big lot. This is our next door neighbor that we're building next to. So again, we're going in line with his facade. This is the neighbor at 323 Old Dam Road. Who, and there's their deck. You can see their deck right there. This photo should also be online. The other thing I'll note too is that there were actually, because it was a comment from one of the neighbors, the other neighbors as well, there used to be a large amount of trees here that blocked, there's a screening trees that were very tall, that were blocking that view, which we removed during the course of construction, which actually opened up the view for that neighbor. So, but I think you can see by this, we're offset in what I think is the main view for that neighbor. Then, only other thing. These were posted online by, just to show the revised elevations. This is a floor plan just showing the reconfigured deck. Again, there used to be a stairwell here. What we're showing now is a circular stair up to this rooftop deck. This is the view from from Old Dam Road. There's the deck on top there. This is from the neighbor that has the large plot of land. I'll show you the one. This is our closest residential neighbor. We located a privacy wall. And then this is from Pine Creek. And this is where you can see, here's the circular staircase up to the rooftop deck. And then we submitted a section just because I know there was questions about the measurements and the measurements adding up. So we submitted a section that shows all these measurements broken down. What you can see here is 37 feet to the top right here to where the deck is. And again, 86 French Street, which was just approved by the commission last year, slightly taller than this, as well as 1008 Fairfield Beach Road, which was back in 2018. So I believe that addresses all the comments, but happy to answer any others.
Questions, Commissioner Randolph?
Yeah, thank you very much for submitting coordinated drawings. These were very helpful. Just getting back to two questions. So getting back to this picture,
Mhm.
it's a setback for the proposed house.
The setback from the street,
Yeah, well, the street is, I guess, more of a right of way than a street.
From Old Dam Road. Sure, I can get that for you. Second. It's plans.
And this is the view in question that we're asking about.
It will know that in a few seconds, but that's what Attorney Russo was saying.
Yeah. Here.
Minimum setback from center line.
Your unfunded mandates that our towns are gonna be required.
Not on this one.
Point to Old Dam Road right there.
Old Dam Road.
Yeah. So
It's
where's,
measured from the center line.
where's the curb on that?
The edge of pavement is the dash line right here.
The front of the building is where it's hatched.
Right.
Yeah, so we're back, what, 20 feet?
So from the center line, which is how you measure in this zone, it's 27.4. From the edge of pavement, it's 20.3.
And, yeah, that gives me a good idea on this one. So, and then last question. Is the enclosure, it doesn't look like a railing, but is it glass enclosure that's proposed?
On the side with the neighbor,
On the roof deck?
on the roof deck,
Maybe glass.
it's glass, okay.
Okay. And is the glass frosted?
No. It's where it provides more view through than you would if you had, than if you built it, what you see, if you drive around the beach district, you see a lot of houses that have been built new, where they go all the way basically as high as they could possibly get, pushing the midpoint, and then they build a rooftop deck into it. And it ends up blocking the view more than if you just put a rooftop deck and where it's something you can actually see through. So I think this actually adds more visibility than going back to that alternative plan and putting the deck into the side of the roof, which is what a lot of people have been doing.
Anything else? Thank you. Commissioner Levy?
Yeah, so the basic, it'll be basically plexiglass. What about the privacy screen? Will that impair the view of the other neighbor?
Again, I don't believe so because it's really. So again, it's here, you can use this as a reference. Here's the house, here's our facade. We're in. I can actually look at that, how far we're in. I think it's 16 feet in from the facade is where the rooftop starts. And so it's really just two panels that are right here on this portion of the rooftop deck. I mean, it's not, it's really just for the benefit of the neighbor who's really the closest one,
The one
most
immediately.
impacted. So these are. There's not a width measurement here, but there should be somewhere that I could find a width measurement of how wide those privacy panels actually are. Probably on the
It's
floor plan.
A21.
That was the next one. Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. So they're each 5 feet 4 inches, so it's about 10 feet wide.
Thank you.
So, and it's really just for that benefit of that next door neighbor right next to us. I don't think it's going to impede their view.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll end the initial presentation portion of this application. I'll open it up to public comments. Does any member of the public wish to be heard? Come on up, sir. To anybody who's joining remotely for this application, if you can please sign in the chat, just so we can get a queue going, but I'm going to start with the people in person. Yeah, why don't you get your stuff or write it over for now. If you can just give your name and address, I think I remember from last time, but still, keep your comments germane to the application. Off you go. Thank you.
Michael Shea, 323 Old Dam Road. So just a couple of comments that we have.
Speak up,
Uh,
please.
So
Just speak a little louder.
Should be a microphone.
Do we have the microphone anywhere?
Yeah,
If you can, just keep it up as much as you can, but we'll just,
Okay,
Attorney Russo, those are your clients, right? Attorney Russo's right behind, so he'll hear it too.
okay, great. So yeah, this is, I have a photo taken from the actual top level. This is, probably about 10 feet above. This is
Just move up.
far enough.
Yeah, if you need to hear, just
Yeah,
feel free to
just
move
move
up.
up.
Yeah, I mean, this is the chimney, and you can see that, this is taken from higher looking down, which is fine. But this is an actual photo of our actual room there. Okay, so you can see where the cleared lot is here, and you can see where a house is gonna be. Okay, so, it's still the fifth floor. And yeah, this is our house. If you're curious about, heights or measurements or, anything, we can go ahead
Are
and.
you okay submitting both of those for the record?
Absolutely.
You.
Yeah, actually, we sent an email out to you guys, and I think these are both on the email.
Oh, they're already part of the record?
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't need
The
them.
neighbor comments.
Okay, thank you. So we don't need those. We already have them part of the comment.
Okay, all right, great. So, yeah, look, at the end of the day, just a couple of things. The screen of trees that were cut down were not very tall. They were about 20 feet tall. And when they cleared them out, that was fine. They were, below where our line of sight was. And the view changes. It just does. You can see where it is here and what you'll see after, based on the height of this house. We don't want the developer to not be able to put up a house. They bought the land, they've got the plans, they want to put up a house, put up a house. We don't have any problem at all with that. We hope it's a great house. All we would like to do is make sure that we can still enjoy our house that we built, that we live in, 12 months out of the year. We're not, living somewhere else during the winter. We live there all the time. And we'd like to be able to enjoy our house and the views that we have there. So
So it's just a rooftop deck.
that's our only issue. They can build whatever they want, as much as they want, as much as you'll allow them to. It's just the height. That's all. That's all it is.
No worries. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Well, looking at the scan drawing. What's the height? The height is cut off. I think it's 33. We only got half of it.
Mine?
Let me see that, but
The midpoint.
I'm not sure if it's cut off there too.
Yeah, it's cut off here too.
Okay. That's fine. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other member of the public in person wish to be heard on 345 Old Dam Road? Any member of the public joining us remotely or by phone wish to be heard in this application? Anybody, Ms. Harrigan?
No, I do not.
If you're joining by phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Last call for 345 Old Dam Road. Member of the public wish to be heard in the application. Close the public comment portion of it. Attorney Russo, rebuttal.
Yeah, sure. I don't think you should too reason to belabor it too much. I mean, there's nothing in the regulations that guarantee a line of sight to the water. And, I mean, it's something that's happened over the course of just the development of the beach area. I grew up there my whole life. There used to be a lot more salt boxes than there are now. And now the salt boxes are next to very large houses, and then they dwindle in sizes. But what I think the special permit standards for rooftop deck and what's looking is, giving this commission the ability to review the deck and see that it's, I think designed in a thoughtful manner. And this deck, I certainly think fits that bill. It is, where it is located is in a position that's the least obtrusive to the next door neighbor. It is not a large deck. The property that's to the west of it is set back significantly from that property and frankly faces away from our house. If you look at it, its porches are faced away from our house. And the next door neighbor, we met with the next door neighbor. They like the idea of having that privacy fence and that we provided that for them. And then I think we've located this deck in the best possible location for a 323 Old Dam Road. And I think if you look at the submitted drone picture that we had, it shows that this is going to be offset. And then on top of that, I showed you the elevation on what is a compliant height where it's just mass and it's bulk, and which they absolutely would not be able to see through. With a rooftop deck, there's an additional 2 feet 6 inches there that this neighbor will be open area that they'll be able to look out over. So I think my client's been extremely respectful in trying to minimize any impact from it. And the other thing I'll say is, after doing the research further regarding other rooftop decks, there was a rooftop deck approved on French Street, 86 French Street, that was taller. That property is on the south side of French Street. So there's properties all along the north side of French Street that building is in between, much more so than this property, which I think is kind of ideally located in secluded nature for it not to be an impact. So I certainly think we're in line with your prior approvals, as recently as last year. And so with that, we respectfully request your approval of the application. And as far as coastal resources, I think this has been designed completely in compliance with your coastal standards. I think the increase in bedroom count, I don't find any basis in the statute for denying an increase in bedroom count. And I think it's, again, in line with a lot of the new construction that you've seen built in the beach area.
Thank you. Good. Final questions? All right, all set. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Close the public hearing on this application. Calling next 1089 Churchill Road subdivision application of Catherine Ann Wilcox McElroy, excuse me, for 2 lots in a residence A zone. Sir, is that you? Good evening.
Mike Macro. So instead of 1 lot subdivision, the lot meets all the zoning requirements of size and shape and so forth. And so the question is, and has always been, is sight line for the driveway.
Can you restate your name? I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Mike McElroy.
Thank you.
McElroy.
Thank you.
So prior to 2008, this 200 stretch of road had an embankment that came down on top of the curb of the road. When I was surveying it, I could stand in the gutter of Stratfield Road, reach over and touch the embankment. The result of this is that the house is at 2114 and 2104 Stratfield Road to the south of this proposed lot. Had 0 sight line for traffic coming south. That condition existed for 55 years without any incident. And the property at 2156 Stratfield Road on the north side of the project had 0 sight line for traffic heading north on Stratfield Road. That condition lasted for 30 years without any incidents. In 2016, There was a retaining wall built at 2114 Stratfield Road, which greatly improved the sight line for 2114 and 2104. Of course, for the proposed lot. And in 2022, retaining wall was built on 2156. That's not right, I'm sorry. It's the next house over from 2156. $21.82 Stratfield Road. As retaining wall was built on there in 2022. Greatly improving the sight line for that lot as well as the proposed lot. That's the main issue with this project, and that's what's been done different from the last time we were here to improve things.
So does that improvement lead to the sightlines, getting the sightlines that you need? Or are you asking that?
Well, some question about the sightlines that we need to mention. When I originally brought this project to the town, the Fairfield Engineering Department requested 390 feet of sightline. It's very reasonable. And the process of moving forward, the state of Connecticut requested 425 feet of sightline. And then when I showed up here for a public hearing, the commission demanded 500 feet of sightline.
Was that the last time you were at the commission?
2008.
Okay.
So I pretty much got to 500 feet, but
Well, that's
it
not
took
just,
a lot of time and a lot.
all right, so you're saying though you have about the 500 feet?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you drive by the lot right now, the embankment of 2132 doesn't look very nice. New people in there, they're a young couple. We are going to fix that probably this fall. And at 2182, the north side of the project, by the end of the month, that's going to be regraded and seed in there. So that
Our town engineer, when you looked at them, they concurred with your drawings and your sightline evaluation.
That's for.
So, Bill Hurley, did send us an email and he reviewed the plans and felt that it was an improvement as stated by the applicant. However, he just asked to continue this item so that he can double check with Connecticut DOT, as this is a state road, just to ensure that they're fine as well.
Churchill is a state road?
No, Stratfield.
No, Stratfield.
No, I knew that.
Stratfield Road is,
The new.
Will be on the
Stratfield.
church.
Both sides.
Goes all the way through.
Okay, all right, I guess that makes,
Essentially, where we're putting green is.
all right, so I guess it makes sense maybe to go as far as we can with the initial presentation, then keep everything open, not get to public comments, because we
Well,
may-
unless you want to just keep it open, pending DOT final comments.
I guess that's, I mean, are we expecting anything? I guess be interested to see if there's anybody, a member of the public here in general. Why don't we do that, and we can always reopen it to the public if we need to. Okay,
there's no rush.
no, that's fair enough. All right, anything else on your end as far as your presentation?
Looked into accidents there. There seems to be a minor accident once every 2 years. Mostly turning northbound traffic, turning left into Putting Green Road.
The site, the lots are conforming to the zone,
Yes.
once subdivided. The main issue seems to be sightlines. Driveways, okay. Questions from Mr. McElroy?
Just a point of clarification, so would the driveway come out on
Stratfield
Stratfield?
Road.
And the question is the sight line on Stratfield, okay.
Commissioner Porcello?
The driveway, so I know this is right where Putting Green is. There's that divider, the grass median.
Island,
The island, thank you. That splits
right in the middle of the
in the
island.
middle. Okay, so it's not,
It's north of the southbound and south of the northbound
Thank you.
Other questions? Let's close the initial presentation of this application, subject to getting DOT comments or any other further comments from our engineering. Let me see if there's any member of the public that wishes to be heard in this application. Any member of the public in person, remote, or by phone that wishes to be heard in this application? 1089 Churchill Road. I'll leave, let's close it subject to comments from DOT and the town engineer. And we'll just leave rebuttal. Normally you have a chance to rebuttal, but no public comments and we're for DOT and engineering. So we'll just keep it open at this point to see what we, if anything needs to be, what we get from them. So he has a chance to rebut, and then if there's anything anything else, we can reopen it to the public at that point. I'll keep this hearing open until we hear back from DOT and our engineers.
Great.
Thank you. Thanks for your time. Thank you. 441 Post Road zoning compliance and coastal site plan application of 441 Post Road LLC for a 478 unit residential development pursuant to section 830G of the Connecticut General Statutes, the Design Residence District. Fallon, Attorney Blank, good evening.
Evening, Chairman, members of the commission. For the record, my name is John Fallon. I'm pleased to be representing the applicant property owners along with my colleague Adam Blank of Whitley Rosen and also Emma Dignati, also of Whitley Rosen at the controls. Yogi Berra said deja vu all over again. Here we are.
Nice.
Twice. So 2 weeks ago, I was sitting in this chair with regard to another application, which you were good enough to subsequently approve. And we talked about being in uncharted waters, which in fact we are. For purposes of this record and public information, the first thing I want to do, as I did at that hearing, because I think it should be part of this record, is to commend the commission for the unprecedented diligence and hard work that you have put in over the last 9 months during this very uncharted waters time, meeting every week to dispose of these applications. And you continue to do that, and your dedication and resolve is just very, very impressive, and we do appreciate it. With regard to 441 Post Road, as you know, you diligently considered over 4 nights of public hearing and then ultimately approved a mixed-use approval for this property, this very important gateway commercially zoned property. You approved a beautiful 110-unit hotel and 250 units of housing, providing not only diversity of housing generally for our town, but also an important aspect of affordable housing as well. Let me make it clear on behalf of our clients, that is the development that we ultimately want to bring forth on this unique and very important property. I think it's fair to say after your decision that that is the development that you want to see on this property. And I would hazard to say that I think it's also the development that most individuals in the immediate area prefer. An individual has appealed, which is his right, and that appeal was filed last week. So we find ourselves in that situation now. We do expect with confidence that the court will find that the commission, you acted properly and that you lawfully approved the mixed use application. But obviously, we don't know that to 100% certainty. With the appeal pending, the ultimate fate of the mixed use plan, which I think we all prefer, is at this time uncertain. The property owners must protect their rights for a viable backup option. And the 8-30G application that we bring to you tonight is that viable backup option. And due to statutory requirements, the pendency of the appeal, and the moratorium presently in effect, we have no choice but to move forward with that at this time. We can't delay the 8-30G until we see how the mixed use appeal turns out. Having said that, in terms of what brings us here tonight, I will say, as I said when we were here 2 weeks ago on the Fairfield Place application, that we don't come here apologetically with regard to this 8-30G application. It is a worthy application that complies with the standards of 8-30G and the case law interpreting it. And it will provide this town, if it should be the ultimate development of this property, with 144 units of much needed, deed restricted, affordable housing. So we'll demonstrate tonight and through perhaps other evenings, through our expert testimony that we will introduce, that there will be no adverse impacts associated with this proposal, which is generally, I would point out, in terms of site engineering and the like, totally consistent with the mixed-use proposal that you've already approved. Thus, we bring this application before you tonight, confident that although it may not be the preferred option for development of this site, it is one that would bring substantial benefit to the town of Fairfield, provide unique diversification of our housing inventory, benefiting a strong and broad segment of our spectrum of our population. And it does, most importantly, as you will hear in our presentation, comply with the standards of approval as provided and established pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes 8-30G. So with that as a brief introduction, I turn it over to my colleague, Attorney Blank, and we look forward to presenting our information and evidence with regard to this worthy application. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Hello. Tonight, aside from the legal folks who you've already been introduced to, we have Rob Pryor and Brian Carey from Land Tech, who are going to address the site engineering, drainage, and CAM related issues. Ray Sullivan is here as well, the project architect. Earl Govan is here as well, the landscape architect. Joe Versteeg, building and fire code expert, is with us here. Neil Olinsky from SLR, the traffic engineer. Hopefully we're going to get to everybody. We're going to try. He'll be remote on the video. Also remote are the client representatives, Ed Gormley, Matt Evertson, and Alyssa Kent. And they can answer any questions that come up that the rest of the team can't address. So I'm going to turn it over to those rest of the folks on the team in just a few minutes. Again, specifically what we're here for tonight is to take down the existing Circle Hotel and the diner, construct 478 units of apartments and 2 new 6-story structures, along with 592 garage spaces, 95 surface parking spaces. So you got about 687 total parking spaces, 24 of those handicapped. That equates to roughly 1.4 spaces per unit. And notably, that is more spaces per unit than you approved for this site on the mixed use plan, which was less than the 1.4 per unit. So we're adding more parking per unit than what you've already approved for this site. By and large, the project mirrors the layout of the mixed use project you recently approved. And there are obviously changes because there's not a hotel and it's replaced with additional apartment units. And the restaurant is gone, which allows for additional units. And it is taller, right? It's a taller structure than what you previously approved, but in terms of general footprint, fairly similar. And you'll see an overlay shortly that will demonstrate that for you. And it's obviously it's a different project, but it's fairly similar in terms of what it is. 250 apartments before and 110 hotel rooms plus the diner. It's fairly equivalent to the 478 units of apartments, just in terms of
Are you digging into the ground like the last project?
So we're digging into the ground like the last project. The difference in the digging is that and the real experts can give you more detail, but as you get close to our property lines and the sort of, I'll call it sensitive areas, the digging is the same in terms of depth and in terms of how close we get. But as you move back towards the center of our project, on this project, we continue to dig, whereas the other one, we stopped digging. So there's a little more digging here than there was on the other one. But there's not more digging or deeper digging towards the creek or towards our neighbors. So it would be wouldn't have an impact on them or the ecology. Again, because of some of the similarities in the project and to avoid unnecessary taking up of your time, we would ask that we take the record from the mixed use project and incorporate that into the record here for this application.
That's fine.
The site just, we know this, but for the record, it's about 6.4 acres, 441 Post Road. It's on a great location for affordable housing and for a larger development. Again, this is under 8-30G in the Connecticut Coastal Area Management Act. Of the 478 units, 62 studios, 283 one-bedroom, 133 two-bedroom units. Just the slightest hair over 30% of the units will be deed restricted affordable. As you heard from John, 144 of them, 20 studios, 85 one-bedrooms, 39 two-bedrooms. Of those, 73 will be at 60% AMI and 71 will be at 80% AMI. So again, that meets the statutory split requirements. The building's type 3A construction over type 1A construction. Each unit will be separated with fireproof and sound rated walls and floors in accordance with code. Buildings will be fully sprinklered. The only concern raised through the fire marshal with respect to the code review related to access to the roof, for fire access to the roof. Joe Versteeg, who's here with us, when we get to him, he's going to address that with you and explain that we fully comply with the fire code in that regard and with any other respect. The exterior facade of the buildings, combination of fiber cement lap siding, fiber cement batten siding, fiber cement panel siding, brick veneer with architectural asphalt shingles. Elevators are provided for access to all levels. All units will be ADA adaptable. The buildings will meet or exceed Connecticut Energy Code. The building envelope, components, walls, floors, windows, and ceilings will have high R values. Spray foam insulation will be used to minimize air infiltration. Each unit will have its own individual, highly efficient HVAC system with programmable thermostats. With regard to traffic, site distances at all proposed site driveways will exceed the ISD criteria, and the development's overall level of services will remain unchanged and well within acceptable levels at B on weekday AM peak hour and C on weekday PM peak hour. Traffic safety will be improved by the removal of one of the existing site driveways, reconstruction of the sidewalk along the entire site frontage, creating a much more inviting streetscape and safer experience for pedestrians. You have comprehensive drainage plans that are prepared, showing the development will provide water quality treatment, 1.3 inches for the proposed impervious areas with a substantial improvement of water quality from existing conditions. We have received WPCA approval for sewer capacity. We got that on April 9th. So there's no issue with respect to sewer. Again, because we're at the creek, and it's a CAM application, this did go to DEEP for their comments. They did issue some comments, and I do want to go through that because I think that's important. The DEEP's review, which was a review for consistency with the Connecticut Coastal Management Act. And in DEEP's review of that, we can, I think, go to the next slide and you can skip that one too. So in their review, they've reviewed their coastal resources and resource policies. And you'll see that under anything that might be potentially inconsistent, there's nothing checked as inconsistent. They also reviewed adverse impacts on coastal resources. The next slide. And you'll see there was either not applicable, was almost everything, unacceptable, potentially unacceptable. They have nothing marked, and appears acceptable was related to natural and existing drainage patterns. And they have some comments at the end, which we'll get to about that. For coastal use policies, they found nothing is potentially inconsistent with coastal use policies. For adverse impacts on future water dependent development activities, they found no potentially unacceptable adverse impacts. For issues of concern, they identified 3 issues of concerns, which they provided a summary and recommendation with details on those issues of concern. And we'll hit them next. Those issues of concern in their summary, and it's a little hard to read up there. I'm gonna actually read most of it. We commend the applicants for proposing improvements to the stormwater management system. This system should be required as a condition of coastal site plan approval. So one of their concerns was that you make that a condition of approval. We don't have any objection to that and would assume that that is a condition of approval. Although it's a waterfront site, due to the steep slope at the rear of the site, it does not appear suitable for active in-water, water-dependent uses. And they support the passive recreational public access to a viewing platform as the water-dependent use on site. However, the access should be welcoming and usable. And they asked that we provide additional parking for that public access from what was originally in our plans. We've now provided, I believe, 2 public parking spaces, which was the same number of public parking spaces that were provided in the mixed-use application that you approved for the same viewing area. And they asked that that be a condition of approval, which we have no objection to. The project includes plans to implement a 15-foot vegetated buffer along the tidal creek planted with native plants, and we support this project component. They remind us that we may need additional permitting if we're doing work below the coastal jurisdiction line. And they recommend that you folks require as a condition of approval, maintenance of adequate sedimentation and erosion controls during construction. That was their concern earlier on. We've provided a plan for that. We have no issue with a condition of approval that we maintain adequate sedimentation and erosion controls during construction. And then after those comments, they had their sort of final conclusions, their findings. And their finding was consistent with modifications or conditions, which I've just literally read to you all of those modifications or conditions that they've recommended. And so again, you have the Deep's report on the CAM-related issues. They didn't find any issue with the site, with the construction that was proposed, other than with a few conditions, which we've happily agreed to do. And I think was part of our, generally speaking, most of that was part of our proposal to start. So we've also given you a landscaping plan, and Earl will talk a bit about the landscaping. But to give you context, in the landscaping that we're proposing, there's 170 trees, over 400 new, 170 new trees, over 400 new shrubs to be planted, and roughly 1,400 perennials and grasses to be planted at the site. So this is a pretty comprehensive landscape plan. And with that moderately brief introduction, I'm going to turn it over to the rest of the team. I'm going to have some remarks when they finish. But at this point, I'd like to, absent further questions for me, turn it over to Land Tech, Rob Pryor and Brian Carey.
Thank you.
Commissioner Braun had indicated that she has a question.
Oh, sure. Commissioner Braun?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions and you can dole them out to whoever can answer them. You had mentioned that there would be more excavating. Could you give us the square footage and how that compares to the last app, as well as what the footprint of the excavation is? I meant cubic footage. And is there any blasting? I think last time there was an open question about whether blasting would be needed.
So we'll have to get back to you on the exact square footage of the, and there will be blasting. And we've, again, in the prior record, which we were incorporating, we did a frequently asked questions section that details the procedures for blasting, and that would be equally applicable here on this application.
When can we get the answer for that?
I'm presuming that we are not going to finish tonight at 9 o'clock now with an hour to go and some opposition. So it's not going to be tonight, but it will be before your next meeting.
Are you talking about the cubic?
The cubic footage, we don't have it.
Thank you.
Is it, but you said it's more than the last one was like, I don't know, 49,000 or something like that cubic feet. So this would be more than that.
Yeah.
And then I have a couple more. The impervious surfaces, is this greater or less than the prior application?
We go, is it all, let me ask you this, Commissioner Braun, I think it sounds like the civil engineers are coming up to give their presentation. Is yours, your
One
questions?
more. Yeah, one more just for him. The number of bedrooms, you gave the number of units. What's the number of bedrooms?
Well, if somebody wants to do the math as I do it, I can. The bedroom count is 62 studios, 283 one bedrooms, 133 two bedrooms,
133, 2 bedrooms? Okay, thank you. I can figure that out.
about 600.
600, and how many parking spaces again? I forgot what you said.
No, there's more than that. There's 687? 687.
Bedrooms?
No, parking spaces.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. For the record, my name is Robert Pryor, professional engineer and land surveyor with Land Tech, representing the applicant. My presentation, I'm going to go over a few things, hopefully pretty briefly. I'll go run through the site plan, the stormwater management system, site utilities, soil erosion control, soil erosion and sediment control, and then a brief discussion of vehicle access, emergency vehicle access. So let's bring up the next slide. So throughout the evening, you're going to hear discussion about the comparison between this project and the project that you previously approved. As part of our presentation, we present this exhibit, which shows the previously approved project building footprints in the red highlighted areas. So you have the, let's see if I can, yeah, well, I can.
That one, yeah,
So there was the existing diner building, and then the, let's say, the hotel building, and then the residential building that was previously approved. And so in this proposal, you can see that the diner building is no longer there, and then the the hotel is replaced by this angle shaped residential building. And we will have the site plan up so you can see that. And the building in the back is generally similar in extents to what was previously approved. Can we bring the next site plan up, please? So in this scenario, as discussed, all existing structures and pavements, hardscape will be removed. And two new buildings will be constructed. So both residential buildings, larger building to the back with associated parking garage, and then residential building, angled residential building to the front. As previously stated, there's some 687 parking spaces divided between surface spaces and garage spaces and ADA accessible spaces. Throughout the site, there's a series of driveways, sidewalks, pedestrian access and vehicular access through the site. We are proposing a compliant ADA sidewalk along the entire frontage of the site. There are two areas for refuse and loading, and there's one for each building. There's one located here, located west side of the larger building. There's also a pool and amenity area to the rear of the larger building. You can see from the landscape plan, there's this area of green that is slightly different than the rest of the lawn area. That represents reinforced turf area for access by emergency vehicles. So we're not to allow emergency vehicles to access basically three sides of the larger building. We're providing a reinforced turf sometimes you may have heard of it called grasscrete. There's different products. But that is a planted lawn area, but it's capable of supporting emergency vehicles. Next slide, please. So this doesn't show up very well, but this, talking about the stormwater management system, I would say that this system is virtually identical to the system that was proposed for the mixed use, the approved mixed use project. There's a conveyance and collection system consisting of catch basins, manholes, and piping and underground piping to collect and convey the stormwater. Stormwater is then conveyed to large underground detention systems in the rear of the site. The only modifications that have been made to this system have been just to match the proposed driveway and site geometry that has been changed because of the reconfiguration of the site. So as far as the detention systems, those are very, very much the same as what we propose. For comparison, I know one of the commissioners had a question regarding impervious coverage. So the previously approved mixed-use project had an impervious coverage of 179,782 square feet. This proposal has a proposed coverage of 171,559 square feet. I'll do the math. That's a 8,223 square foot reduction in impervious coverage from what was already approved. That represents an approximate 4.6% reduction what was previously approved. Drainage from all the paved parking areas will be treated through several different elements. First, there'll be sumped catch basins will serve to collect and separate some of the larger sediments from the runoff from the paved parking areas. Then the conveyed stormwater will be routed to a hydrodynamic separator, which will provides both pre-treatment before the stormwater enters the underground detention system. The hydrodynamic separator will provide some initial settlement, also of larger suspended solids through a process called cyclonic separation. And it also provides separation of trash, floatables, and also provides some oil separation, collection within the hydrodynamic separator. The proposed underground detention systems, they are, with the exception of them being very slightly reconfigured from a geometric standpoint, they provide the exact same storage volume as what was previously approved. So in the mixed use scenario, we provided 20,318 cubic feet. In this scenario, we provide the same 20,318 cubic feet of storage in those systems. The stormwater quality treatment, as previously talked about, consists of a multi-phase treatment train, sumped catch basins, hydrodynamic separator, and full infiltration of the entire water quality volume. As we interpret the Connecticut Stormwater Quality Manual, it recognizes that if we do, in fact, infiltrate the entire required stormwater quality volume, that system meets the prescribed requirements for stormwater quality treatment, meaning that it meets if we infiltrate the entire stormwater quality volume, we have met the requirements of the manual. This proposed system does meet that objective, as did it the previously approved plan. Next slide, please. So for site utilities, terrible slide, I apologize, but show connections for gas, sprinkler, domestic water, wired utilities, and electricity from the existing infrastructure out in the roadway. Obviously, the final locations of all those will be coordinated with the various utility providers when we get to that level of design. Sanitary sewer is located in the northern portion of the site adjacent to the roadway, and that connects to an existing sewer manhole that is on site. We do provide a oil water separator for the floor drains in the proposed parking garage. Next slide, please. So the plans have proposed a comprehensive soil erosion sediment control plan. We have a perimeter sediment barrier around the entire site. In the area where that barrier is down gradient of the disturbed area and between the site and the tidal wetlands, the sediment barrier consists of a double row of silt fence with hay bale backup. We have 2 temporary sediment traps proposed. We have 2 anti-tracking aprons, construction access points proposed. And we have a temporary material stockpile shown. Prior to construction, this site will require a construction we believe this site will require a construction stormwater permit under the general permit from Connecticut DEP, which will require us to produce a stormwater pollution prevention plan, a SWIP. That plan will in turn, as part of the requirements of the review process with DEP, that SWIP will be reviewed by a third-party independent engineer as part of that review process. Finally, I'm just going to go through quickly some of the site access, emergency vehicle and large vehicle access. So could I go to the next slide, please? So this first slide just basically shows the ability of a box truck to both enter the site from either driveway and also to exit the site from either driveway. That this would be a SU-30 vehicle, so we're looking at something that would be like a moving truck. We wouldn't expect large vehicles here because we don't have the commercial component in this project. So the largest vehicles you're likely to see are again a moving truck, commercial moving truck, garbage truck potentially. Next slide, please. This slide indicates and demonstrates the ability of a fire truck to get both into the site from either driveway and to be able to drive and get to all parts of the site without impacting any parking areas or needing to use any parking areas. You can see here the utilization of that reinforced turf area behind the larger building in order to have greater access to more sides of that building. And then we show that same fire truck being able to exit out onto the roadway network from both driveways. Last slide for me. And this slide is just and this plan is in our plan set, but this plan just indicates the previously discussed sightline. On the western driveway, we're providing 390 feet of sightline to the right. That's right, or to the left, maybe. I guess, I don't know. I hate my guys put this with the north arrow down and forever gonna have a problem with this, so. But anyway, it shows the sight line in one direction. That's essentially because that portion of the roadway network is one way there. And although the driveway, we might call it full movement, it's just de facto right in and right out. The other driveway down here, the eastern driveway, provides 530 feet of sight line both to the left and to the right. So I think that kind of concludes for me, the engineering, through the engineering elements. Brian Carey from our office is here to talk about the environmental and CAM aspects of the site plan, but I'm happy to answer any questions if you want to do it now, or we can wait.
Just a quick question. Where you said there's a reduction, 4.6% reduction in impervious, where's that coming from?
So I hate to make you do it, but let's spin back to the comparison plan.
And Mr. Chair, Commissioner Braun also has a question.
Thank you.
So if you look, as part of leaving the existing Circle Diner, there was some area of pavement here that was existing that we had to leave based on get circulation around that building. So we're able to take that portion, and I think that's the majority of it, is that removing that portion of existing pavement and being able to plant that area.
Commissioner Braun?
I'm sorry, could you point that out again? The gray area is the new one and the red area is the old one?
Yeah, so the red area in this area is existing pavement that's out there now that in the previously approved plan was going to remain.
Sarah, can you put that on your, oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Nadi, can you just on your
Okay,
cursor?
now better. Okay, point that out, yeah.
So by removing the Circle Diner building, we don't need that pavement anymore for site circulation. So we're able to
Show the
remove
pavement
it.
again. Can you just outline the pavement that he's talking about?
Yeah, I think I am, right?
It's this area, it's that area, it's that triangle of red right there.
That's paved currently. So that area is currently paved and you're gonna be putting plantings there.
Yes, correct.
That is the major difference, right? That's the 8,000 square feet.
That's the majority of the difference, yes.
And okay. You had mentioned that there's a multi-phase. Could you explain again, is this the thing where you're at the bottom of a watershed so the water could just drain directly into the tidal water body without being detained? It sounds like you are detaining it.
Right, so we are infiltrating the water quality volume here. This location, because it discharges directly to a tidal body, and B, because we are toward the bottom of the watershed, typically it's not good engineering practice to try to maintain flows for larger storms, such as a 25 or 100-year storm. That would be different if we were, say, discharging to the town drainage system where there were capacity issues in the town drainage system that we didn't want to exacerbate. That's not the case here, though, because we don't discharge into the town system. We discharge directly tidal inlet.
And so the goal then is to make sure the water is completely treated before it goes into the tidal water body, right?
Yes, so in this case, none of the required water quality volume actually discharges into the tidal water body at all. It's all infiltrated into the underlying soil.
But wasn't there a level spreader last time to take overflow towards the tidal area? Is that still there?
Yes, so in storms that are greater than the 1.3 inches of rainfall that would represent a water quality storm, we have to allow that excess water above and beyond the water quality to basically flow through the detention system. And the level spreader allows that to be discharged in a controlled manner to the tidal wetlands.
And that level spreader, I can see, I think, are there two level spreaders, one by each infiltrator system?
Yes, there's one,
Point that
yes,
out.
there's one downstream of each
Okay.
of each detention system, correct?
And these detention systems are located the same way as they were on the prior app. So they're about, that level spreader, as I recall, was maybe 15 feet from the tidal wetland flag.
I think the level spreaders are generally in the same location as they were.
Do you know the distance? Because I remember last time they said it was around 15 feet. And is that under the little access road for the fire trucks?
No, I don't know. The level spreaders are not located coincident with the access road.
Because it's hard to see the access road. Was the access road between the level spreader and the wetland, or is the access road hard to tell from this?
That is under the access road, that system.
Yeah, the systems themselves are under the access road, but the level spreader is not.
Oh, so the infiltrators are under the access road. Does that affect it? I thought at another app, somebody said you couldn't put a road on top of an infiltrator system.
No, this is commonly done.
Okay.
You'll see in a lot of commercial activities, underground detention systems on their parking lots and such.
And do you know the horizontal distance? The last app, they said something like 15 feet from the edge of the most farthest out portion of the drainage system to the edge of the tidal wetland, around 15 feet.
I believe that's consistent with this.
Thank you. And could you show us where the test pits are in relation to those infiltrator systems?
I know
Probably on another plan, I imagine, but I don't see them on this one, but.
Yeah, we could try to zoom in. I know we did additional testing relative to some comments that were done previously. I'm not sure we're going to be able to see them.
There was also a question on the prior one about a pipe that wasn't connected. And there was a lot of discussion about that. That was on the other infiltration system on the left side, like by the garage. Are all those?
I think there was there was some confusion about, I think there was some confusion about about one of the outlet orifices or something like that, with one of the other systems and at the time, I know I didn't have a clear explanation for that. Tonight, what I can tell you is that there is in addition to the level spreader, there's also a sort of an overflow that's sort of on top above the systems that allows in a very severe or catastrophic sort of storm event, water to bubble out from the surface right above the underground detention systems. And those are at the surface. So basically what you'd see is a grate, and in a catastrophic event, you could see water bubble up out of that above the underground detention systems. And I believe that that's the question of what that was and how to characterize that was sort of a discussion item last time. And unfortunately, I didn't have a great response to that question. So I'm giving it to you now.
And so is it possible to show us where the test pits are in relation? There must be a better plan that's a little clearer. This is a little hard to read.
Yeah, no, I mean, the test pits are all shown on the plan. Do you have I hesitate to bring up to scroll to the end, but we have our site plan set.
And the test pits would show the distance of the groundwater to the bottom of the infiltrator system.
Yes, and again, the guidance that we received from the town engineer was to maintain 18 inches between the bottom of the system and seasonal high groundwater. We were able to do that with the previously approved system, and And also this system, because they are set at the same elevation. So you're gonna have to zoom right in, because sorry,
Closer, I can't.
the older I get, the less I can see. So if we, yeah, so. Okay, okay, that's good. Yep. So there's test pits. There's a number of test pits. There's 1, 2, 3. I think that may be it for that
This
one.
says DTH, that means deep test hole. Is that an infiltrator test pit or is that a percolation test pit?
It's just a deep test pit. That would be a test pit done to determine seasonal high groundwater and soils.
And that's an infiltrator test pit?
It's, yeah, just a test pit.
Okay.
And then for the other system, there's a test pit at the western end, one at the eastern end, and I want to say there's something. There's maybe another one. I can't.
DTH3.
No, I see, Commissioner.
There's a test
I
pit
can see
there.
DTH. So anytime it says DTH is where it is.
Yeah.
Correct. They're generally put through where the systems are being located.
Okay. And if the water overflows the system, what treatment does it receive if there's a big storm? So this only deals with the first one, it holds the first 1.3 inches of what type of storm?
So the 1.3 inch storm is what we would call a water quality event. And you're generally encouraged to treat the 1.3 inches of runoff, because that is what DEP and various agencies have determined is the most polluted water that you're going to see, because that's the first runoff off paved surfaces, and that basically that first 1.3 inches of rainfall washes most of that impurities off. And then after that, that water that's coming off pavement doesn't have the same pollution levels.
Okay.
So what you're required to treat is the first 1.3 inches. That's what we do. Anything that you get above and beyond that is not required.
And by treating, it goes through the catch basins, to the hydrodynamic separator, to the underground detention system, then to the infiltrators.
So then the underground system, it never leaves the underground system.
Well,
So
eventually, it just goes straight into the earth, and then if it's too
Yes.
much water, it goes over to the level spreader, which does not treat it, it just spreads it out.
yes.
Okay. And one last question about the blasting. I'm trying to remember, did I ask you or the lawyer this? Do we know the cubic, how much blasting and how much cubic footage, or was that something you said you had to wait till next time to answer?
Yeah, I think our response was that we would get you, I'd rather not get approximated. I'd rather give you an
Okay,
exact.
I hear you. Yep. Okay, that's all I have for now. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Randolph.
Just a process question. So you need a general permit for this, correct?
That's correct.
Could you explain what a general permit is? Who has the ultimate responsibility to evaluate the effectiveness of the stormwater system, the adequacy of the soil percolation tests, the treatment of the water, and the overall design under a general permit? Who has that responsibility?
So the general permit is generally more related to the construction stormwater, but they do also review the ultimate stormwater and ongoing maintenance of the proposed stormwater elements. So the DEP, in order to get this, whenever it's over 5 acres of disturbance, you're required to get registered under the general permit. I forget what the exact title of the general permit is, but it's I know it as the construction stormwater permit. And so this plan, and again, there's a document that goes with that, which is a stormwater pollution prevention plan. That's a written document. It goes with the soil erosion control plan, and that gets submitted up to the DEP for their review and approval before construction can start. And while they're not looking, they don't review they don't have the authority to deny that permit based on non-compliance or compliance with their stormwater quality manual. That's the stormwater system is in the authority of the local town. But part of that process is, as I did describe, is that there's required third-party review of that application and that SWIP. That has to be signed off by a third party. And so the applicant's required to hire a third party to review the SWIP and sign off on it in order to get as part of the process.
Yeah, that third party review actually acts as the reviewing agent for the state. And it's all done electronically, but a question that has come up in the past during the previous application about impacts to wildlife, wetlands and wildlife, they actually also do under the natural diversity database review. If there are any listed species on that property, we do have to put in a mitigation report that is also approved and reviewed as part of the general stormwater permit. So it actually acts in a couple different facets. The town still has the reviewing authority as this board, but once you're greater than 5 acres, the state actually does that review and certifies that property.
So just to clarify, we get into a lot of details on level spreaders, underwater detention basins, water quality, 1-inch storm events. All of those issues are understood and addressed by DEEP. There, as you described, there's a third party that reviews this, a qualified third party engineers that certifies that with their professional certification.
That's correct.
Yeah. And then the ultimate issuing authority is our town engineer.
That's also correct.
So rather than us getting to the details on this, we have a number of professionals who review all of these details, all of your work. And your work is, I believe I saw a stamp on there. Did that correct? Saw a stamp? Yeah. So could you explain what that stamp designates, and if you misrepresent anything here, either through cutting corners or providing some sort of inadequate design, what would be the liability for you should you provide something that was inadequate or insufficient?
So I think
Significant or, yeah.
So I think there's various disciplinary.
You don't have to get the details, but it would be bad.
Well, it wouldn't, no, certainly, it's not in any engineer's best interest to do that.
And you've taken an oath to your profession to design something. And not only that, the people who are reviewing this on behalf of the state, the third party is reviewing it. And then our town engineer is reviewing this, all of the design details.
And a lot of times during this process, a third party engineer is hired by the opposition. We also try to look at their comments and review them. If we believe they're valid, we will incorporate those types of changes or comments or revisions into our plans as well. So we did receive additional information at 5 o'clock today from a third party reviewer for the opposition. So we do have to respond, or we will, determine whether or not that warrants a response.
Did you want to specifically address that?
We'll get into that.
Yeah, that was 20 minutes before.
I do appreciate the clarification. So just want to, because there's often a lot of swirling information around here that would imply that design standards are not necessarily consistently understood, but there's 3 levels of review. There's the third party engineer, there's you guys, and then there's the town engineer, correct?
Yeah, and what drives that is the density, ultimately the acreage of the size of the development.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Carey, go ahead.
So I'm going to go real quick because Attorney Blank, thankfully, did review most of this. So as part of the application, we did submit an updated CAM report that really identified the aspects of the 830G that were that were different than the mixed use development. But I will say, as you can see in the site plans that were submitted in the overlay, that Mr. Pryor reviewed, you can see that functionally, the wetland buffer and the stormwater systems have remained relatively unchanged between the two applications. And that being the case, there really has been no substantial changes. So we did submit the CAM application to the town in late April. It was reviewed, as Attorney Blank said, by the state. We take no exceptions to any of the comments that they've returned to us. 15-foot vegetative buffer remains in place. There is no work being done below the coastal jurisdiction line. If that were to change for some reason, we'd obviously have to come back here, but we'd also have to submit an application to the state for any work that would be waterward of the high tide line. So that being said, I'm not going to be too verbose. The applications are very similar in the nature based on the disturbance of the site. And again, we do need a general permit for the stormwater management that will require another review, regulatory review, which will provide a little bit more in-depth review of any type of impacts to state or endangered species on the site, which have been listed by the NDDB process. So I'm open at really answering questions. One of the main comments was just providing extra public parking because of the passive public overlook platform or passive public overlook area, and the fact that there is minimal water dependent use on the property.
Thank you. We're all set.
Right, thanks. Next up, Ray Sullivan, project architect.
I had a question for him about the database.
Go ahead.
I can't find your NDDB database in all the materials. Could you just identify where it is and what species were listed? Because in the last app, there were about 7 species of special concern that some consultant found. Do you have
so
that?
it is talked about in detail in the CAM application and the back report. But if it's, I can resubmit that again. I did get clarification in talking through with the DEP. There has been numerous times I put that report in, and it basically generates different species lists because there are species that are really just based in the estuary. It's a minor fine line about the limits of the site. She kind of explained that to me. There's certain things that are coming up on the list that they wouldn't be proximate to the site based on the tide gates. There was a sand shark, a hit on a sand shark and a couple other things. But I can clarify that in the record when we respond to some of the questions that were asked here tonight.
So Mr. Carey, so there is an NDDB database search. I just couldn't find it in the record. There's so many attachments. I couldn't find it. Is it actually attached? And if so, could you identify it, or are you going to submit that later?
I will identify it. It's in the back of the CAM application. But again, the only species that would possibly have an impact or could have an impact that will need to be mitigated would be the diamond terrapin turtle. But that is generally protected through erosion and sediment controls that are put in place during the construction process. There would have to be some type of daily monitoring in the morning, but that's only again during parts of the year where there'd actually be nesting pairs that would be trying to climb up into the upland. But again, based on the steepness of the site, it's probably not practical. But
Okay, so will you be here next time? I know this is going to be continued till next time, so I can look at that and ask questions, because the DEP CAM report did not mention any listed species. Do they normally not mention that when they do their CAM review for you, or their CAM letter?
depends. I mean, it depends, but in this case, their comments were satisfied with what we submitted. There is some discussion about that in the CAM report. I'll provide
your CAM report, not their CAM report.
In our CAM report, yes.
Okay, I'll find it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Ray Sullivan. I'm representing the Sullivan Architectural Group, 129 North Broad Street, which is the Milford Green, over in Milford. So I'm gonna run through, and Emma, can we stay with the colored site plan just for a minute? I'm gonna run quickly through some numbers, and then I'll show you where you can get the numbers a little easier and more graphically. So the larger building, that wraps around the garage and goes towards the rear, we reference that as building A. And the smaller building where the hotel used to be, we reference that as building B. So for building A, there are 51 studios, 16 of those are affordable. There are 218 one-bedrooms, 66 of those are affordable. And then there are 95 two-bedrooms, 28 of those are affordable. So in that building A, there are 364 units and there are 110 affordable units within that. So building B, the smaller building, has 11 studios, 4 of them, are affordable. It has 65 one-bedrooms, 19 of those are affordable. And it has 38 two-bedrooms, 11 of those are affordable. So they total 114 units, 34 which are affordable. So it's a total of 478 units and 144. And I'll break down the affordability in a second. Couple other notes. Building A is 6 stories and it's 73 feet in height. Building B is also 6 stories and it's 70 feet in height. Both of those go to average grade. Relative to parking, which we've reviewed, we have 95 surface spaces. We have 592 garage spaces, totaling 687 total spaces, which is 1.43 per unit. Can we skip over our site plan and then go to what is our unit analysis sheet? So it's probably 2 sheets down. The next sheet, okay. So that's probably harder to read from a distance.
Or up close.
No, actually, it's so, but when you do look at your packet, every column is a floor. Every unit is identified with a number, a unit type, in an area per unit. Every unit there that is colored is an affordable unit. So, again, in this building A, we have 110, affordable units. The yellow represents the units that are in the 60%, income bracket. And the tan, represent those in the 80%, income bracket. And while we're here too, I'll just touch upon again, 100% of all these units are handicapped adaptable. Per the code, we need 10% of these units to be type A units. That's an adaptable type A unit. And 90% of them have to be type B. The difference, type A has a slightly higher degree of adaptability to it. Most of that shows up in the kitchen, but it's still an adaptable product. Type B has slightly less than A, but again, every single unit is handicap adaptable. For average unit sizes, in building A, the studios, they range from 570 to 620 square feet. The 1-bedrooms range from 704 to 763 square feet. And the 2-bedrooms range from 1,047 to 1,147 square feet. In the smaller building B, the studios are 593. The 1-bedrooms range from 735 to 840, and the 2-bedrooms range from 1,138 to 1,240 square feet. So, can you scroll 3 sheets forward? So this is a typical floor plan. Again, on that muted screen, it's hard to tell. You know, but what we have is every unit. This is typical of the second through the sixth floors. Every single unit is color coded, whether it's a studio, one or two. You know, a unit that has a single crosshatch, you know, is that one I believe is the 80% affordable.
Ray, you have to do it on this screen.
I gotta do it on that one. So that has a single crosshatch, you know, which means that that's an 80% affordable. There are some here, which I can't distinguish from here, which are a double crosshatch. And that represents the 60% affordable. So, you know, if you look at in our packet, the unit analysis, it gives you, you know, a column of what's going on every floor. You can identify every unit. If you look at the floor plans, you know, I'm not showing you all the floor plans, but you know, every single unit is identified in terms of type and affordability, you know, and whether or not it's at the 60 or the 80%, you know, affordable range. So can you go back to now? So again, this project is very similar to the mixed use project. I was actually involved in the beginning of the mixed use project, you know, as well. So that, you know, that area, you know, you can see the upper area, which is the garage. There's one full level below grade. The grade drops off as you go towards the creek, and there are, you know, some units and some amenity area, you know, back towards the creek. So, you know, in the typical floor, which we just saw, it's larger. It's got 61 units on a floor. This particular lower level unit only has 18 units, you know, in the amenity space. The next one. So that is the entry level, where if you pull into the site, you can pull into the garage. You know, the front entryway is here, you know, there's amenity area all here, you know, and it looks down over amenity area below. Just for comparison's sake, because the question was asked, what happened in the previous application is that if you drove into the garage, you drove down half a level. So let's just say, for round numbers purposes, if you drove in, you went down 5 feet, and you're at this half level. That's as far as it went. The only difference between this project and the previously approved is that you go down to that half level, turn, and then go down again. So, you know, we're increasing the depth of that excavation about 5 feet. And I didn't know it was going to be an issue, but if it's helpful, I could show the commission this, and that, you know, that is that.
Is this in the record?
It's in our packet.
Okay.
But because the question was asked, you know, this crosshatched area is the only area of additional excavation. And
You're showing us something that's A-205 dot lay.
yes. So, but so what, you know, knowing that question will come with the exact cubic footage, but most of that additional excavation is some 300 feet away from
But the additional excavation seems to be in the parking garage, an extra 5 feet down.
yes, 5 feet. It's 5 feet down right here.
Okay.
And it slopes up here until it's 0.
Fair enough. That generally describes where that extra, okay.
Yes.
So it's coming out of, okay.
So it's essentially, we're going down half a level more, but that half a level more has to be further away from any of the neighbors. And, you know, we're not excavating here, you know, because of that rock and proximity to the neighbors. So we're trying to be sensitive to that fact. Emma, can you start to scroll through, actually, why don't you go to that sketch, the 3D sketch, which is probably only 2 or 3, okay? So aesthetically, we realize we have a larger building, but the design intent is to create a traditionally styled building. So the base of the building, this first level is brick, so it's a heavier masonry material. And then, traditionally, a building will have a body. So the main body of the building is floors 2, 3, and 4. That has a cementatious clapboard siding, again, a very traditional material. And then the cap of the building, floors 5 and 6 have a vertical board and batten, a cementatious board and batten material. Again, it's a traditionally used material. The entire edge of the flat roof is treated with a mansard roof. So we've got this mansard roof with a sloped shingle roof on it. And then on regular intervals, we are introducing gables. So again, we're trying to, create a look that is, that is rooted in traditional shapes and traditional materials. A lot of the gables, support bay windows. The windows themselves are 2/1 double hung windows. Again, it's a traditional material. 90 to 95% of all the units have individual balconies, and all those balconies, have a traditional aluminum wrought iron looking railing, but they're aluminum rails. So admittedly, we have a taller building than before, but we are given it the design intent of it being a traditional looking building, we're using traditional materials and we're using traditional shapes. So, you can scroll past the elevation that's next, and maybe there's a building section after that. So the building itself, oh, I'm sorry, could you just go back? Yeah. So this building is, it's 3A construction over 1A construction. We call it 5/1. So what happens is there's a concrete podium here that is the second floor itself. So if you walk in the front door, you're walking into the lobby here, there's an elevated concrete slab above that, and then there's 5 floors. So 3A construction means that the exterior wall is framed with non-combustible material, and it's 2-hour rated. But what happens is, when you create the podium, we divide the building in half. We've got this upper building that is 3A construction. We've got this lower building, which is 1A construction. That 1A construction is totally non-combustible, in all its materials, whereas on the upper floors, the exterior walls are non-combustible, but the inside is a standard wood frame. So the exterior walls, non-combustible, 2-hour rated, all unit floors and ceilings, corridor walls and unit separation walls from unit to unit are 1-hour rated. Every unit is fire stopped. So smoke gets, if something goes on, smoke gets into the unit, it can't get into the next unit. It is stabilized within that one unit. All the stairwells are 2-hour rated, and the building will be fully suppressed with a NFPA 13 system. There are 2 systems, 13R and 13. 13 is the more expansive, more protective system. When you get smaller buildings, you can use a 13.
It's not like a sprinkler system.
It's a sprinkler system, yes. So Emma, why don't you scroll through to a couple more, which would be the floor plan. Yeah, maybe one more. I'm sorry. So, I won't bother you with that, but there is a unit analysis sheet for the smaller building as well. So this smaller building, again, is in a similar position to where the hotel is on the mixed use scheme. It happens to be a little bit wider, and a little bit longer, so it's bent. So we've got this lower level entryway here in the middle. And, I believe we have 14 units in total on the typical floor. And then if we go floors, 2 through 6, we have, we've got 20 units on each one of those floors. And I believe the next sheet is, so you can go to the next sheet after that. So the building elevations, they're in the packet. They look just like the sketch that we just talked about, in building A. But again, this is the 6-story building, the smaller building, on the road. So again, it's 6 stories. We have a concrete slab here that segregates the first floor from the upper floor. So we've got 5 wood floors up here. Again, exterior walls are non-combustible to our rated. All the interior framing is standard wood frame construction. We've got this 3-hour horizontal separation separating this floor from the rest of the building. Everything down here is non-combustible. So there's one more point I just want to touch upon. If you can go back maybe to one of the site plans. That one's good. That one's good. So there was some discussion about, gee, where's the coverage? There's a little less coverage, So what happens is when this garage is essentially exactly the same, ours might be, 18 to 20 feet shorter. But when you pull onto the site in turn, there's about 90 feet from this building to that building. In the original mixed use scheme, there was a drive aisle. I don't think there was even any parking. It was very attractive, but the buildings were much tighter together. So if there was a drive aisle that's 24, 25 feet wide and sidewalks on either side, that may not have been but 40 feet between those, and we have 90 feet. And so what that did was that this wing right here, it actually pushed it down a little bit. And if the battery went dead, I lost this thing here. But, all right. So the 2 wings that go back are actually a little bit shorter than so they're a little bit further away from that back area. And the courtyard is a little narrow. And so what that allowed, the fire truck, which in the previous scheme got to the backside of the building, but could never get to the backside of that garage. So now we can get a fire truck, in and all the way up to that backside. And, when you go through the fire code, you can't take a fire truck into a dead end, so we've got this T turnaround there. So that the distance of a fire truck being on Post Road and a fire truck being back here and a hose pull and those 2 hoses meeting are significantly, very significantly underneath, any maximum dimension, that is allowed. So I know there's a lot to cover, and this is really, it's essentially the first scheme with 2 more floors. And so, I'll stop there so that maybe Earl can be heard, unless there's any questions.
We're 5 of. Are there any questions for Mr. Sullivan? Go ahead, Commissioner Randolph.
Quick clarification. So you're 5/1 and 5/2, correct?
Yeah. We're predominantly 5/1. There are sections where it's 5/2.
We're not, our curfew's at 10, so we're not likely at all to get to you. Sorry.
And so you're 68 and 72 feet.
Those heights are from average grade, which is where, yeah.
How high is the other proposal, just for comparison?
I don't know off the top of my head. I know this is, the grade drops off in the back and they use that low level exactly like this is. So the distance the typical floor to floor heights on these buildings are 10'8" floor to floor. And we're 2 stories taller. Right, so that's 21 foot.
So we're at 72 and the other one's probably 20 feet shorter. So 50, the other one's about 50.
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head, and I'll double check that for you, but
that's
in round numbers.
So give me your 2 minutes. Thank you.
It's up to you, whatever.
Um,
I have a question.
yeah, let's finish with Mr. Sullivan, but yeah, if it's gonna be short, then we'll go on and see where we are. Go ahead, Commissioner Harrison.
Yeah, thank you. Are you guys using bird strike windows? These windows are very, very large and I'm just concerned about the species living in the Ash Creek area.
Yes, we've actually consulted with Beinfeld Architecture, the ones who, the architects on the mixed use scheme. And we're taking their same recommendations, on the glass.
Okay, thank you. Then one more question, and maybe this was brought up before. I apologize for being redundant. So my math says there are 611 bedrooms, which is like 1.1 bedroom per parking space, 687 spaces. So that doesn't include the dens that could be used as bedrooms. So do you think you have enough parking spaces?
But the threshold of the 830G, we've got more than sufficient parking.
No, I understand that, and that's 830G, like those are just thresholds, we could always do better than 830G, right? So
Yes, I do think we have sufficient parking because we're on a bus line. We're close to two train stations. And it's funny, there are many towns that are forcing us to use less parking, less impervious surface. So at a number that's close to 1.5, I think that's a good number.
no, that's fair. And no, I understand that some towns are doing different things with parking. We just don't live in an area where we have end-to-end transportation, unfortunately. The bus line is kind of shaky. The train line is a commuter train line, not a train line that could bring you somewhere really end to end. So just wanted to know. Thank you.
In another application, I'll put this out there. I don't need an answer from you, Attorney Blank, anytime, or at least tonight. There was a condition of approval that the applicant agreed to that said that in their lease, they would put language that the dens or whatever office rooms or whatever would not be used as bedrooms. So I think that was Black Rock. The one above Hi-O.
44 rating.
Yeah, so just like food for thought if that's, because I don't know, I don't know if the units allow for that, a den to begin with or office. I thought there was, but I didn't get a chance to really look through it too well, so.
There are a handful of one bedroom units that sit behind a stair. You get an extra space once the stair goes up. So it's a one bedroom with a den, but they end up with large cased openings, no doors on them and no.
I mean, the thought was that if I think what they said was in their leases for one bedrooms or two bedrooms, the lease would have language that prohibited the tenant from doing more than one bedroom or two bedrooms, whatever that would be. So just food for thought. I don't need an answer from you tonight. Are all the units the same as far as studio and bedroom, one bedroom or two bedrooms size wise?
No, they vary. Like if you
Which is
look.
fine. I guess, let me just follow up with this then. Are the affordable units such a way, are they spaced out in such a way that they are all on the lower end of the sizes?
No, they're dispersed throughout on all floors, all levels, all views.
All right, so it could be on the lower end of a size in one area, the higher end of a size of another area. We've had issues in the past, we've had an application in the past where if the range was from 500 to 600, all the affordable units were 500.
No, we know we can't put them all on the lower level, all in the back.
Not even just a lower level as far as floors, but I'm talking like sizes.
Yes, no, they're dispersed throughout. And we do the same thing when we identify the type A handicap
No,
units.
perfect, that's fine. Sorry to cut you off, but I was promised a quick one, so let's see how far we get.
Yeah, we'll be quick. Earl Govin, Blades and Govin Landscape Architects of the project. As you know, the site plan, if we could bring that up, the site plan is oriented with north down. So that's the streetscape. The new streetscape has a new sidewalk, has new site lighting, which is full cutoff and dark sky compliant. Streetscape have trees along the entire along Post Road. As you enter the site, the entrance to the garage is on the left. We have parking lot planting as per the town code in excess. We have over 150 trees and
hundreds of shrubs and such, 80% of which are native. We have a full foundation landscape plan, which is primarily native with some ornamental grasses. One thing that has been brought up, there's 2 entrances to each one into each of the building that do provide a drop off for each. So there's a pickup, Uber drop off, et cetera, at both entrances. There's a dedicated area. Again, the landscape is full around each building, 360 degrees. The east side, which is along the side which has most of the neighbors, has a continuous screen, evergreen screen from one end to the other, similar to the last project. The buffer to the tidal wetlands is a similar fashion, all native material, large trees to try to provide some screening from the neighbors across the tidal wetland. Again, totally native. There is a public access walk, which stretches along the south edge of the property, which reaches out to a overlook, again, which has parking spaces located for that. There are roughly 95 spaces on the site. There's an emergency access in the back. And from a landscape perspective, very similar to the last project, and is again predominantly native and designed to provide as much screening to the neighbors as possible. How was that?
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
Commissioner Braun has a question.
sure. Commissioner Braun, go ahead.
What is the relative height of the building in relation to the houses that are on Shoreham Village Drive area? What is the elevation of the top of the building in relation to the elevation of the top of the houses that are nearby?
We can get that information.
And also,
It's gonna be
thank you.
20 feet, it's 20 feet higher than it was on the mixed use project. I mean, we can pull it back up, but
Well, yeah, if you don't mind, that's fine. I mean, I remember the houses were 2.5, 3 stories, and this is 7, well,
gonna be
no,
a lot bigger.
7 stories.
Yeah.
This is always also up on a hill. And the height of the building is, there was an average of 73 feet on one building and 70, that's average height, right? That's not the height of the tallest part of the building to wherever the grade is. Like, is there another number that you could use for the height other than the average height?
No, that is the height. By the height in Fairfield, you take the average grade all the way around the building, establish what that is, and then go to the highest point of the roof. This is essentially a flat roof with just an edge on it. So from the highest point of that flat roof down to average grade, those are the dimensions.
And the HVAC, is that on top? Is that behind the mansard roof, kind of like hidden? And
Any HVAC would be hidden from view behind the mansard.
okay, thank you.
so I'm sure you don't want to hear more tonight. We've got a couple more guys for next
Okay.
week.
I'm not sure if any of your other experts will be back.
If they're available, we'll
We'll
try
be
to keep them
available.
remote or.
Let's keep it open.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Attorney Fallon, anything? Good.
Thank you.
Fine. All right. I will continue this matter to a week from now. Is that what we're?
Yes, that's correct. June 3rd?
June 3rd will be our next, sorry. June 3rd will be our next meeting. Hold on.
Can you ask what the deadline is of when we have to vote on this? Because this is a compliance app.
June 21, right?
I think so.
June 21st?
It's in the chart that Miss Harrigan gave out, but June 21st.
Oh, thank you. I didn't see that. Thanks, appreciate it.
And we have given the maximum extension,
So we're maxed out.
Correct.
June 21st.
more if we could, but.
Yeah, I gotcha. So I am continuing the matter to June 3rd, keeping this matter open and adjourning.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Good.